live. We've done it. We've done it. So, welcome, Daniel Knight. Thank you very much for the comment, mate. Looking forward to chatting with you as always. And welcome to the first official episode of the Friday Night Blues. Because me and Kai have decided we're going to try and make a weekly occurrence out of this. It'll be interesting to see how many people are about on a Friday night. But there's a lot of Chelsea to talk about in there, Kai.
Yeah, starting off the weekend with the right tone,
Yeah.
getting a bit of a bluesy vibe, getting ready for the games on the weekend. Obviously, Charlton up this weekend, new
Charlton.
manager, lots of things to be curious about. I'm not going to say look forward to just yet, but be curious about.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I think I've got a bit of a different kind of not even necessarily opinion. I think my opinion is the same as most people's about what's going on, but my outlook is different.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'm very much like I want to watch football. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of my main thing, and ultimately, football there will be. So let's just give a couple of quick little welcomes, Daniel Knight and Omar. It's afternoon in the good afternoon, Omar. Whereabouts in the US are you tuning in from, Omar? I didn't know that's where you were situated. That's cool, man. Thanks very much for joining us. So, we've got loads of stuff to talk about today, and we will, as ever, keep popping your comments in, and we will come back and I'll highlight them because I've got a handy dandy little highlight thing. Check this out. Ooh, yeah, we're leveling up, mate. We're leveling up. So yeah, we're going to start with the press conference. And then we'll chat about that for a little bit. And if you guys have got some questions or you've got some stuff you want us to talk about, or then just throw them in, man, and we will get to it. But without further ado, Liam Rosenior, have you checked out his press conference, Kai?
I haven't, mate. I've been rammed today, so it's going to be. I've seen his press conferences joining,
Yeah.
and one thing I'm going to say is he's quite well spoken, man. Like listening to him. I enjoy listening to what he's saying.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand what he's saying, and I don't know if that's because I mean I can't even remember the last time I've seen an English manager at his
It's
football club.
Frank,
So
innit? I think.
yeah,
Must have
exactly.
been
So Frank was quite a while ago. So he speaks well. Let's put it that way. I think he's got he seems to have a way with the press already, but then he was a player,
Yeah.
so
I mean,
he's
you
don't
know,
deal with the press as much, but he's been
yeah.
around the English media for playing in the UK. So he sort of, switched on. Obviously, he was at Hull coaching.
Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah,
Derby
yeah,
as well. So he's had a few stints. So he's dealt with the
yeah, man.
media,
Yeah.
although now it's a different hot seat, isn't it?
Yeah, he's definitely a smooth operator, man. Do you know what I mean? I love that
Yeah.
already, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But we've just had a few people jump in, so let's say hello to everyone. Omar's tuning in from New York, by the way, the Big Apple. That's very cool, man. That's very cool.
NYC.
Welcome, Devin. Welcome, Dominic. Welcome, and we will start getting to the comments in a minute. So, vis-a-vis the press conference. One thing I find really, really, really interesting is this press conference has influenced the narrative. I've spent a long time today watching Chelsea content from people. Now, I haven't done a video today, but I've been watching a lot of other people's videos, and the amount of people that have basically just said what you've said, I think is incredible. Because the narrative around Liam Rosenior for the last week has been, he's not good enough, and this, that, and the other. And he's done one press conference for a game against Charlton, which we are expected to win. And people are already starting to change their tunes. Now, I did a little bit of research on Liam Rosenior a little while ago, actually, because we were talking about Rosenior as a replacement months ago, weren't we? Literally ages ago.
Yeah.
So I'd seen a little bit about him, and obviously when all of this kicked off, I watched a lot of people are actually taking the mick out of the halftime team talk he gave to Strasbourg. I saw that and I'm like, cool, man's got character and he's well spoken. Another thing I've watched is he did a little bit of punditry work. And fascinating listening to him talk about football and tactics, man. And that combined with his smooth operator nature, the first thing that sticks out to me about Liam Rosenior, having watched this press conference, is the one thing. Well, we've done a lot of streams together. I've been banging on about Maresca's character all season and last season as well, throwing players under the bus, not dealing with the press very well, and always kind of like trying to get away from blame and this, that, and the other. Do you know what I mean? It's like character for me has been, tactically, I think Maresca was pretty good. It could be a bit boring sometimes, but ultimately he could get results. But his character was something I've been questioning for the entire time. And Liam Rosenior well, we'll see about the tactics thing, but already Liam Rosenior has got more of the character that I expect in a Chelsea manager. He's well spoken. He is good at answering difficult questions. Do you know what I mean? Because he's, even the one like he was asked a question about, is Reece James a midfielder? And instead of answering the question, he waxed lyrical about how good Reece James is, but didn't actually give a definitive answer because he doesn't even know yet. Do you know what I mean? So I am very much on side with Liam Rosenior at the moment in terms of just that press conference, because the first thing I see is character, and one of the biggest things I feel like we've been missing from the Chelsea dugout since Thomas Tuchel, to be honest, is character. Because Graham Potter, absolute cringe. Let's just be honest. It was just cringe, wasn't it? Maurizio Pochettino, good manager, not buckets of character, quite not shy, but not a big talker by any stretch.
Yeah.
And obviously now Enzo Maresca. And again, or up until Enzo Maresca, not a huge amount of character kind of thing. So I'm, in particular, I'm really pleased to see that. What do you think?
Yeah, like I said, man, he seems like he can handle himself in the press conference. The only thing I'll say is it's different when you've just started a job than when you've lost 4 games on the bounce.
Yeah.
Or you've coming off a result that you should have won. Then we'll see what his character's like. Then we'll see, does he throw the players under bus? So that on that side, the jury's still out because he hasn't been in that situation yet. But in terms of just the way that he handles questions, he seems like he can speak well. He's got, you'd expect him to have baller knowledge because he's a coach.
Yeah.
Now, the way that he speaks in the press conference about his ideology, the way that he wants to play and things like that is great. I like what I'm hearing, but now it's whether, is it just talk or is he able to translate that into the football? So that 100%, is 100%. Like I said, I've done my video on him like everybody else, and I'm still in the process of trying to reconnect with the club.
Yeah.
And trying to dissociate from the top, not forgetting what's going on because that is a different story, but just trying to focus on Liam for this moment.
Yeah.
Until I have a sample size, because even if I look at Strasbourg, Chelsea's a different breed.
Yeah.
Premier League's a different breed.
Absolutely.
I can't really look at his Strasbourg thing and go, he's going to do that here because it's a 50-50. So until I get a sample size in terms of his coaching and what I'm expecting to see, jury's still out on that one for me.
I think that largely goes without saying, though, doesn't it? It's like we haven't seen him manage the team yet. And the thing is, even after the Charlton game, I still don't really think we can say anything then because it's Charlton and it will probably be full of like a lot of B players. Do you know what I mean? Well, we will. Yeah, and like I say, for me, I'm not reading into, do I think he's going to be a good tactician? Do I think he's going to win games? No, of course not. It is, I'm only commenting on the one thing that I think that, for me, he's shown more character in one press conference. And I know languages is like a thing as well, but Maresca was a very good English speaker. Do you know what I mean? He actually speaks lots of languages.
Yeah.
That was a plus he had over Rosenior, actually, because he spoke like 5 different languages, Maresca, didn't he? So let's have a little look at some of these comments, because I'm loving some of the ones. I'm going to start with one from Devin, just because he always cracks me up. Ready for inverted goalkeeper Bobby Sanchez. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I hope for the most part the days of inverted anything is over. I
think that. I think we're going to see the end of that.
I'm just sick. Do you remember it was almost like false 9 was called for a little while, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden it was false back and false winger, and all of a sudden it was just like, mate, go away. It's just getting silly now. Cool. So Daniel Knight says no replay in the FA Cup this season. It will go straight to pens and extra time. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that probably benefits us.
No, we don't need any more games.
No.
Not at this point.
And I don't know if this will be the same under Rosenior, but we've been a cup team up until now, haven't we? So anything like that kind of suits us. Omar says he can talk, very media savvy. Now we have to see if he can walk the walk. Absolutely, Omar. 100% agree with you. Dominic says first presses are a free hit. Let me see his first games. Absolutely agree with that. And also followed up with only head coach I've seen bottle a first presser is Graham Potter. Graham Potter
bottled every press conference, didn't he?
Mate, I'm not going to lie to you. I think in recent memory, Graham Potter's the only manager I've actively wanted out. Do you know what I mean? And I wasn't willing to wait to see that if the relationship could be repaired or the results could turn around. Graham Potter's the only manager out of all of the managers we've had for at least 10 years that I've just been like, get him out. Even Rafa. I even had more time for Rafa. Do you know what I mean? Despite all of the history and whatever. Okay. Yeah, Dominic also says, loving all the comments, Dominic. Thank you very much. Way too early to read into these things, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. And also, one for you, Kai. Thank you, Behind the Dugout. Excellent point. Well presented. And one from... Dominic. Yeah, mate. And one from Omar. To your point about character, Matt, I think that will help with the discipline issues we have at the club, holding the players accountable and letting them know there are consequences for every action. I 100% agree with that. And I'm not going to lie to you, one thing I just talked about was my issue with Maresca like throwing players under the bus, and we said obviously we'll have to see what happens after I run a few games, but I've got a feeling he will be more like Mourinho in that respect. I feel like he'll throw himself in front of the players because his whole raison d'être, his reason to be, is young players at the moment, isn't it? And one thing he will understand is that you need to let people grow. You need to let people make mistakes, and you need to let people grow. So I have a feeling that he will throw himself in front of that bus. But we will see. These are all just, ideas and definitely no necessary indication to say it will 100% be like that. Interesting one from Daniel Knight here. Wrexham are 2-0 up against Forest.
The Hollywood story continues.
So just before we get into some of Rosenier's quotes from the press conference, do you think Wrexham will be in the Premier League next year?
I think next year might be too soon, but I reckon in the next 3 to 4 years, I think because they'll still invest. They're doing all right. You know what?
They're gonna need.
It's one of those that the story's kind of. It's a story club. It's just built for it.
They're gonna. If they get into the Prem as well, they're gonna need some serious outside investment, man. Like Ryan Reynolds is
big time,
big famous guy, or whatever. But they need oil money. Do you know what I mean? In order to be in the Prem,
heavy money, to survive.
Right. So Liam Rosenier's press. So if you missed the press, Kai, this is even more interesting actually because I can get some of your like natural reactions. So I've just taken a few of the quotes that I thought were interesting. I'd like to get your reactions to them. So one in particular was quite early. I loved. I'm not arrogant. I'm good at what I do, which to me was another way of saying I think I'm a special one.
Yeah, just not using the same words because it would have been outroar. You know what? It goes two ways, right? Mm-hmm. So I love when there's character in there where you're confident in your own ability.
Yeah,
you know, you've got confidence in your ideas and confident you can get across this to not just the players but players of one of the biggest football clubs in the world. So I don't mind that. The downside to it is people will go, well, what's your track record? How can you have that confidence when if in terms of trophies you've done nothing in the game? So it goes one of two ways, but I'd much rather that personality in a press conference than him coming out, well, I don't know, I'm going to see how I'm going to do and maybe I can do something, because that wouldn't fill me with any confidence as a fan. Yeah. So he gives a bit of confidence and hopefully he can back it up because that's what it's going to be about now. Yeah. Can you talk the talk? Can you back it up, mate? Yeah. Can you back it up with results?
It's 100% true, man. One thing we can say about character as well, and like being willing to say those sorts of things as press conferences, if he's like that in a press conference, he's going to be like that, if not even more, in training. And he's going to exude that confidence in training. This is the thing, isn't it? Is if Enzo Maresca was very different in training from how he was in press conferences, we wouldn't really know. Do you know what I mean? But to see Liam Rosenior be this kind of bolshy and have this much gusto in his first press conference, I think that is good because one of the things he's talked about a lot, which I'll get into a bit more in a little bit, is like building a culture and stuff. And I think he just wants his players to see that, you know, one thing that's going to be really difficult from him is credentials. Like you mentioned it yourself, he knows that he doesn't have all of these winning credentials and stuff. So he is going to be out to prove himself regardless of that. And he's going to have to have a big character. He's going to have a big personality because You know, even Maresca, even though it was a little one, had won the championship at least. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
he come in with a trophy credential, and he could sort of say, look, I've won a thing. I know what it takes to win a thing. So the players can look at that, even though the levels aren't the same, and say, okay, he has taken a team to a trophy. Liam Rosenior doesn't have that, so he's going to have to make up for that with gusto and character. So the next quote I found very interesting is pertaining to the yes man situation, right? Because this is one massive thing everyone's been saying. Enzo Maresca was the yes man and they've sacked him. He wasn't sacked, by the way. That narrative is just completely off. Like, he walked away. He 100% walked away.
Yeah.
And I do understand the reasons for that, but he wasn't sacked. So, yeah, and everyone's saying the reason up until today's press conference most people weren't happy with the idea of Liam Rosenior is because of him being a yes man and just being a good little boy that does what he's told. At the end of the day, and he's been warned apparently as well that if he pushes back like Maresca did, like, he'll suffer the same fate. Do you know what I mean? So he's going under no pretense that he's going to get any more leeway than Enzo Maresca did, kind of thing. It's kind of play our way or go the highway. So he was asked a question about doing what he's told by the club, basically, when it comes to like injuries or this, that and the other. And he said, I will make the decisions at this club. That's why I've been brought in. I understand I'm not an alien. I know what's being said in the press, but there's no way you can be successful as a manager if you don't make the decisions for yourself. So that is something that's good to see as well, because, you know, I mean, I watched TalkSport earlier. Jason Cundy was talking to Rory Jennings, and Rory Jennings was like, he's a yes man, and Jason Cundy was like, well, everyone's kind of a yes man. And Rory went, Antonio Conte wasn't, and Jason Cundy went, yeah, well, you got sacked. Do you know what I mean? So I think to a point, the yes man narrative is not really one that we should buy into too much, because at the end of the day, if he does everything that they tell him to and loses games, he'll still get sacked, won't he? So, you know, whether he's a yes man or not is kind of irrelevant. But I like the fact that he's kind of come out backing himself in that respect. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's something that he was always going to have to address, because it is the narrative that is around every Chelsea head coach that is coming in nowadays. It is what it is. You know, it's spewed out by the fans because we've had countless managers that have been the same. So it was always something he was going to have to address. Yeah. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Another thing that time will tell on how
that's an addendum over every single one of these things,
exactly.
Isn't it? Like, yeah,
so
100%.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into how long time, whatever, but that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
But it's tough. It's tough for any manager to walk into this kind of caliber of club, but it's even tougher for him right now with everything that's going on, with the narratives behind it, with us as fans, how we are towards the ownership. He's gonna have to battle it from all sides.
Yeah. So
he's approaching it so far in the right way. Mm-hmm. It's just, I think the turning point on the field will be the easiest way to battle it.
Yeah.
In terms of from the fans.
Yeah.
It starts tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think largely because we haven't seen him in charge of any games yet. Like I say, a lot of the things that we're going to talk about is very much like, obviously we'll see what happens when he's managed a couple of games.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think it's still he obviously deemed it worth saying in his press conference. So I do think that a lot of these things bear talking about. So welcome, Will Kelly. Nice to have you in. We will answer your question in a little bit about Valentin Barco actually, because we will be getting on to transfers a little bit first. We're just going to get through some more of the press conference stuff, but welcome to the stream. Anyone, by the way, give us a cheeky little like on the stream if you haven't already. The more you click, the more people it gets out to, the more people we can get in asking questions and chatting with us about Chelsea, so it's all cool. So I do want to just highlight Omar's quote here, because that is the one I was moving on to next anyway. Omar says, the one quote that stood out for me was the one about potential, saying that the boys need to stop thinking they have potential and knowing they are capable of being great. So I 100% agree with that. And I think this has been one of the biggest problems, isn't it? Because despite Maresca being willing to take control of this very young team, it also looks like he doesn't trust a lot of the youth, doesn't it? Like, Yoro Hatos and Andre Santos and a couple of Josh Achiampong, players that have not been getting played nearly enough compared, and he's deferred to constantly playing Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Marco Correa, these players that have all played a million games in the last year. So the actual quote itself was, the biggest hurdle we have is realising the full potential we have. Having potential is one thing. We need to not be a potentially world-class team. We need to be a world-class team. So this is basically Liam Rosenior coming out and saying, I'm not talking about how young the squad is, because it's not about age. This is something I'm paraphrasing this next bit, but he said it's not about age. Do you know what I mean? It's about engagement. It's about... Oh, no, actually, I've got that here. Other than Ben Chilwell, who was magnificent, all I worked with at Strasbourg were young players. Age is one thing. It's your ability to learn and want to be engaged in something. So one thing I like about the idea of that as well is I don't want to hear that we've got a young team anymore. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't matter. It's like we can't use it as an excuse because it's the model. Do you know what I mean? You can't be like, we're only going to buy young players and then be like, well, what do you expect? We've got a really young squad. It's like, no, if you you have to back your own model, don't you, at the end of the day? And he has come from working with the youngest squad in the top 5 leagues. Chelsea are the 5th youngest squad in the top 5 leagues, I think, and Strasbourg are literally the youngest squad, so he's already coming in with more experience. So I like the fact that he's going to be putting trust in these young players like they are experienced professionals, and that means that they will have to suffer the consequences of poor performances as a senior player would as well. What do you think about his approach to young players?
Look, I think it's the right approach. Because every other manager, at least the last 2 that have come before, have used the reasoning, the excuse, whatever you want to call it, as it's a young squad. That's why we're so inconsistent. We're not doing as well as we should do, which of course is a big part of the reason. However, a lot of these players that are considered young are not that young anymore. So you've got a sprinkle of really, really young players in there, but a lot of those players are 24, 25, 26, 27. We've even got some 28s in there, which I know is crazy to even say that we have players that old in the squad.
Uncle Tosin.
Yeah,
Is he 28? Is he 28? Uncle Tosin?
I think he is. I think he's either 27 turning 28 or he's 28. So I do think we need to move away from at least the manager's narrative of it's a young squad, and that's why I can't do well enough with it. I think he can't use it, nor does he have the luxury of using that anymore, because I think as fans, we're sick of hearing it, and we're sick of having to use that excuse. And for a manager, every other one before him have been using that excuse, but they're not so young anymore, so he can't really do that. And like you mentioned about Strasbourg, he has worked with this model, this setup with this young players, probably to a worse extent than what we've seen at Chelsea, because he's had his team literally picked and ripped and every season. So he's been in a worse situation and had to deal with it and have to come out of that, come out at the end of the tunnel and still produce something with a Strasbourg team that was absolutely nowhere until he sort of took over and got them into, was it the Conference League, and they were doing all right this season. So he's got the experience of working in with the model. He seems to be taking the right approach with not using youth as an excuse, and putting a bit more belief behind these players that yes, you've been talking about your potential for so many years. Stop talking about your potential and go show us your class.
I think this is exactly the thing, man, isn't it? And I think that, if anything, this is probably one of the reasons why they've gone for Liam Rosenior in the first place, is because he has a track record of not only working with youth players, but treating youth players like any other player. Do you know what I mean? We've literally seen, like I just mentioned it, we've seen it from Enzo Maresca. He was reticent to play Andre Santos and Yoro Hato and Josh Achiampong. Like, even though Josh Achiampong has barely put a foot wrong this season compared to Tosin and Badiashile, it was always Tosin and Badiashile that were getting the game time. So I think that in itself is a thing, and like you say, the other thing there that you've hit on that I think is a really, really important part of why Liam Rosenior deserves a bit of time from the fans. Do you know what I mean? Is he has come from working in a almost a more difficult version of the model than he's come to at Chelsea, because the same set of sporting directors have been picking and choosing his players for him. They've been moving him around. Like the Ben Chilwell saga is a really interesting one, fascinating from the summer, and he just had to get on with it and deal with it, right? So initially, we sold Ishe Samuel Smith, right, academy left back. We sold him to Strasbourg. Then we got to the end of the window and we still had Ben Chilwell on the books, right, which was a difficult one. And then we were like, right, what we're going to do, we're going to reverse the sale of Ishe Samuel Smith, not recall loan or whatever. They sold him and then reversed the sale, and so they could send Ben Chilwell out there, and then they sent Ishe Samuel Smith to Swansea. Liam Rosenior doesn't get a say in that. Do you know what I mean? Liam Rosenior isn't signing off on that decision. That's like, right, I've got Ishe Samuel Smith. Okay, I'm going to start planning with it. Oh, no, he's gone. I've got Ben Chilwell instead. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And last season, there were 3 loanies there and 2 players that had been sold, in the likes of Diego Moreira and Matisse Mugo. Diego Moreira, another really interesting case, actually. He got a reasonable amount of chances at Chelsea initially. I think he was 18, 19 when we bought him. And Pochettino played him in a few games. Enzo Maresca tried him once or twice and was just like, no. Got sent to Strasbourg. He is now one of the best players in the French league. Do you know what I mean? His numbers are phenomenal. He's having a really, really good season. Really, really young player that's just been given trust and opportunity. So I think Liam Rosenier's track record of working with young players, even ones that already have been like put out to pasture, do you know what I mean? Ones where they had a chance at Chelsea and were deemed not to be good enough. And he, I'd love a little bit of Diego Moreira in our squad at the moment. Do you know what I mean? I'd much rather see Diego Moreira marauding down that left wing than Garnacho or Jamie Gittins at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Just based on what Liam Rosenier's done with him. So, Daniel's got a lot to say. Daniel, I see a away Chelsea fan chanting about the ownership, sporting director and board. We'll talk about this stuff a little bit, man, a little bit. You know, I think it's been done to death on YouTube a little bit. Blueco out, and I want experienced players in the team. So, yeah. So, the thing is, unless Liam Rosenior starts winning games instantly, do you know what I mean? Who have we got after Charlton? Is it Arsenal? We've got FA Cup.
Isn't it? It's not Champions League. It's not Champions League after that, is it?
Oh, is it Paphos?
Let me get the fixtures up. You chat. Let me get the fixtures up.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, if Liam Rosenior doesn't come in and hit the ground running and start instantly winning games, there's going to be a lot of noise. There might even still be some noise. Have you got it? What is
Charlton, Arsenal and Brentford are the next 3 games.
Okay, so that's a fairly rough introduction, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Charlton is a bit of a free hit, I guess, at the end of the day. Arsenal's going to be tough, and he's going to try and win it, I would have thought. Brentford, tough. You know what I mean? Brentford have been pretty good this season. So I think that we're going to hear stuff about the owners, even if, you know, I would have thought at least by a section of the match going fans, you know, we've already seen banners and stuff. There is going to be a bit of that. It's going to be worse if he doesn't get results. If we lose any of these games, because and the protest is at Brentford, actually, isn't it? Or is not at Brentford, but it's on the day
on the day of the Brentford game, yeah.
Yeah. So I think the thing is, man, it's like the hard thing about this whole thing with the owners. There was a lot of distaste towards the owners, and then Maresca went on quite a big winning run, and no one said anything about it, basically. We didn't start talking about the owners again until he started losing. I think there was a little bit of talk. We lost we had like a bad run of results, didn't we? In and around the Man United game. At the start of the season, there was a little bit of talk about it then. Then things picked up and started going well. Everyone stopped talking about the owners. Obviously, we've been on a really bad run. People start talking about the owners again. Maresca's gone. Everyone's talking about the owners. So the only thing I would want to see is true conviction from people that are, you know, Blueco out and talking about the owners and stuff. It's like it needs to stay like that when we're winning as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is you know, we did that heavy stream on the Blue Lounge. Was it last Sunday? And that's the thing about this, right? So what we're doing in this stream, at least the majority of this stream tonight, is just focusing on Rosenior's his first game, trying to have a look at Charlton. But that doesn't take away from the fact, at least from my point of view, that these owners have had enough chances.
Yeah.
And have had enough years, enough transfer windows to get things right, and they have not done that. And they've taken what, because there is a narrative that I do want to speak about,
Yeah.
and it's not directly involved in the owners, but they are part of the reason why it's changed. But yeah, like I said, they've had enough time to do things right, and they haven't. So the chanting from the away fans, from the home fans, that needs to continue.
Yeah.
Winning, losing. The protests, like I said on the Blue Lounge, it can't be a one and done thing.
Yeah.
It can't be do it on the 17th and then don't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to make a real change, and we do want these people out, which are pretty much, I think 99.9% of us are under that, we want them out, then it needs to be a consistent thing. We can't just think that one protest is going to do it, or a couple of chants at a game is going to do it. It's annoying that the Brentford game is not televised.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously that 3 p.m. blackout.
Yeah.
But this thing, right? And I get it. A lot of it's banter from fans, and I love banter. You know, from rival fans. It's, you know, when they're not doing well, we can take the mick. When we're not doing well, obviously, it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
But this whole narrative around, obviously, Roman took us from an okay club to this powerhouse over the last 20 years, the most successful club in English football over the last 20 years. Right? Yeah. But before that, we were okay. You know, we'd win the odd thing. We'd get into top four every now and again. We were okay. It wasn't like we were terrible. No. Going way back, yeah, we were terrible. And then people say, right, that we should be happy. What are we complaining about? We've got owners that are willing to spend money. You know, we were always terrible, so why are we complaining now? It's only the last 20 years that we've done all right. We shouldn't even be talking, you know, history, whatever. My argument to that is, like anything, right? You want to grow, you want to get better, you want to progress.
Yeah.
So Roman took our club with money, whatever he needed to do, because generally, if you want to grow, you want to progress, you've got to throw money in it. You have to.
Yeah, of course.
That's the only way you advance. And he's taken us to the next stage, and he's grown us as a club, as a global fan base, as a footballing team, and we've become this powerhouse, and our standards have been raised.
Yeah, of course.
And that's how we've moved forward. So why, like anything, why should we then drop our standards? And what has clearly gone backwards with these owners, we've clearly gone backwards as a footballing club. Like anything. So if your mobile phone that you've got now, your laptop, your internet, decided to go back to the Stone Age and it didn't work, would you not say anything? Would you drop your standards, go, oh, well, it wasn't always like this. Back in the 1800s, they didn't have nothing. You wouldn't, would you? You would still hold the standards. Why? Because you've seen your team grow, you've seen your team progress and reach those new heights. So you should want to advance, no? You should want to maintain those standards, maintain those heights. You shouldn't accept dropping your standards.
The thing is though, it's like, look, I hate this because it sounds like I'm supporting the owners, like I'm not. I just understand that, like, what we're talking about now is our expectations about how things were in the Romans. So actually, I quickly want to highlight this as well, something that Daniel said. It will be 4 years, May, under the ownership. We've not challenged for the title since 2017, last time we won the league. I think the really important addendum in there is we haven't challenged for the title since 2017, right?
Yeah.
And that is what we're looking at, like 9 years, you know, nearly 10 years or whatever. So we're talking 4 years since we've had Blueco, we haven't challenged for the title. And 5 years before that, we also haven't really challenged for the title. Do you know what I mean? We haven't been in a title race since we had Roman. And the reason for that is because the model of throwing money at big managers and big names doesn't work anymore. We won the Champions League because Tuchel managed to get a tune out of those players. That squad was not good, man. That squad was not good. Like, we had two or three amazing players in that squad, but we had a dross attack, man. Like, when we won the Champions League under Tuchel, it was because Tuchel did a really, really good job. But the thing is, something had to change, right? The model had to change one way or another. Now, I am not saying that this current model is working or is good enough or is brilliant or whatever. But we could, if we'd have stayed under Roman Abramovich doing what we were doing, we'd be in a similar situation to what Man United are. If we just keep on throwing money every single year at trying to win something and not winning anything, we'd have ended up falling into some sort of situation anyway. So I understand something had to change. Do you know what I mean? It's something absolutely had to change. Now, I think we're going in too hard on it. I like the idea of the model in principle, but we are definitely going too hard on it.
That's the thing, like the model, initially it was to create this powerhouse team that would dominate world football for years and years, not just one season and then disappear.
Yeah.
The problem is the way that they are implementing the model, the structure in which they are building the model. That's the problem.
Yeah,
the problem of you can either go one way of having experienced players and then maybe going with the young inexperienced manager and trying to get. The downside you'd have to that is the experienced players probably won't respect the inexperienced manager.
Yeah.
You flip side, you can have a young players with an experienced manager. The problem with these owners is they're doing young squad, inexperienced players, inexperienced manager, trying to get a tune out of both of those. Which it just doesn't work. Or at least it's not working, and it doesn't look like it's going to work. So there needs, from their side, without going into it anymore, there needs to be some change. There needs to be experienced players. Obviously, we were hoping for a more elite manager. Obviously, jury's still out on Liam Rosenior. We'll see how he does.
Yeah, of course.
But that's obviously not going to happen right now because they've gone with this option.
Yep.
So I'd like to see, and the only way it can change is if they were then to go get experienced players and provide better quality, because that's what we're talking about in some of the players that we do have is, we've got loads of depth, but we haven't really got quality in the players that we have. So that's a way that they can change.
I mean, you say that like we were second like a month ago. Do you know what I mean? So this is the thing. I find this narrative a bit frustrating as well, where it's like everyone now, because we haven't won in our last 9-10 games or whatever, now everyone's talking about, we haven't got the quality. But no one was talking about that when we were second in the league, and everyone was all of a sudden. Do you remember this? Honestly, this absolutely drives me nuts. Title challenge. I said no, I don't think we're on for a title challenge, even though we're doing well right now. But the quality, we've got quality in the squad, man. Of course we've got quality in the squad.
Yeah, the words I use, those quality in depth. The first 11. Looking at it would be your depth players if you look at it in theory. So our best wingers, not all of them, but the majority. Again, you don't win a game with 3 or 4 players. 11. You know what I mean? So like Robert Sanchez, he's doing. Don't get me wrong, he's completely changed my view on him this season. He's doing really, really well. However, I would still only see him as a second choice keeper, in my personal opinion. So for me, a quality and depth is having him and then an elite goalkeeper. That's great. So we don't have much quality of depth. You look forward, Caicedo, unreal, world-class player. Then you look behind him, Santos I think we'll see a different Santos under Liam Rosenior. Darius Hugo, jury's out on him. Not seen enough of him, don't know. You move forward, your left wing, Gittins, Garnacho, dead at the moment. Could be something, but it's dead. In terms of quality of depth, it is absolutely dead. Palmer in the 10. I know we talk about putting Esteval in there, but he's mainly been used on the right side. No one. There's no depth there. True. Up front, we've got 2, again, second to maybe even third choice strikers, not the first choice. So that's what I'm talking in terms of quality of depth. No, that's fair. That's what fair. We're definitely lacking in.
That's fair, but what you are talking about is prevalent when you're going for a title challenge, though, isn't it? And I don't think this season that was ever really on the cards, was it? To be honest, and the thing is, I'm glad we didn't go out and just get one of the strikers that was available this season, because the majority of them haven't done particularly well either. Do you know what I mean? There's like loads of strikers moved, like Benjamin Sesko and all that. Do you know what I mean? There was a few strikers knocking around, and apart, even Isak hasn't done particularly well at Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? So if anything, it was good not to go out and try and get that striker this summer when there were so many about, because the majority of those strikers that moved in the summer window haven't gone on to do very well. So let's. Abu has just joined the chat. I remember him from last time. Good to see you here again, buddy. Interesting one. Just harking back to the Roman thing. I'm sorry, I have to disagree because one different Roman would do anything to win a title and care about that, not what these owners that care about player sales. So that may well be true that Roman cared more about winning titles in his heyday, but the truth of the fact is, Roman's situation was really complicated before the club was taken off of him. Do you know what I mean? Roman lost his visa and his ability to work and live in England years ago. Do you know what I mean? So Marina Granovskaya was in charge of the club, and she really cared about player sales. Do you know what I mean? Because she was amazing at selling players, and we had to be good at selling players in order to be able to fund. Do you know what I mean? So the thing, I understand what you're saying. Like, Roman was, one of the best owners ever.
Roman was a
because he
footballing
was
guy.
a football guy.
That's
Yeah,
the difference.
100%.
Like, he
he
was
he was a
football at his
football
heart.
fan. Yeah, definitely. I don't think any of the managers and any of the owners in the Premier League are like that now. I think there's very few owners in the world that are like Roman Abramovich.
We were incredibly lucky
Yeah.
to get an owner like Roman. And
Closest you've
I
got to
would
that is Jim Ratcliffe now.
Yeah.
And look what he's doing.
Exactly. I would be very, very surprised if we ever see an owner like that again, to be honest. Maybe in the other leagues, but not.
Yeah.
I don't think in the Premier. I think there's just too much.
I think it's almost impossible now
Yeah.
to have an owner rather than a group or a board.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? That's the difference now,
With the
isn't
way
it?
the money's going, yeah.
Yeah, just because there's so much money in football now. Roman was already like a unicorn as far as football was concerned, where he owned the club and was a genuine massive football fan and wanted to see his team do well. Do you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, if you look at the majority of clubs in the Premier League now, there's only a few that are owned by one person. So that in itself is quite rare. And what else have we got? The Chelsea boy, welcome to the stream, mate. Thanks for popping in. They won't change. They need to sell up or it will get worse. I'm just going to throw this out there, man. They ain't going to sell. And they're not going to sell until they are hemorrhaging money. That's the thing, man. They will not sell until they're hemorrhaging money. That's the truth. And the thing is, you can already see, like, we've talked about this a little bit before. Not only do they own Chelsea, they own Strasbourg. They're looking at buying more football clubs. Do you know what I mean? They're looking at expanding. It's not even just about Chelsea. They're just looking at expanding their football footprint across the, in the sport in general. They've done things like sell assets from Chelsea to themselves. Do you know what I mean? So, the women's team and the hotels and some of the assets and stuff don't belong to Chelsea anymore. They belong to Blueco now. Do you know what I mean? So they've got, they're not just going to sell everything back to Chelsea and then sell the club. Do you know what I mean? So the thing is, until Chelsea starts costing them a lot of money, I just don't think they'll go anywhere. What I think you can get from the protests, for instance, is I think you might be able to convince them to change. And I think, honestly, that's the best I think we can hope for. I understand people that are saying Blueco out, but there are very, very, very few examples of fans pushing ownerships out of football, especially now with how much money there is in it. There are very, very few examples of that. So, me personally, my focus wouldn't be to try and get rid of them. It would be to try and get them to change. Do you know what I mean? Because the issue is, they don't, and we, it's been talked about a lot. It doesn't seem like winning trophies and that kind of thing is exactly, their priority. It's all very much like business, make money. We don't care about the FA Cup or this, that, and the other. Do you know what I mean? So if the protest can do anything, I think the best thing we can hope the protest can do is get them to accept a bit more fan culture and what Chelsea means to the fans and appreciate that and start buying experience and stop worrying quite so much about buying 16-year-olds from Africa and 17-year-olds from Kazakhstan in the hope that maybe in 5 years they play 4 games for Chelsea and they can be sold for 400% profit or something like that. Do you know what I mean? I think if the model can be adjusted to try and factor winning more and trying to build the club's trophy cabinet at the end of the day, that I genuinely think is a possibility, but I think it's very unlikely that we'll be able to actually kick the owners out. I think that'll be really complicated. What do you think, Kai?
It's tough. It's like nothing. It's probably not impossible, because there are certain areas that a public image can damage. So if you have a very negative public image, especially when it comes to group, if you're just a single person like Roman was,
Yeah.
he's not got anyone backing him. He's not got anyone putting money in. So
Yeah.
no stakeholders. So it's not going to affect anything but his own pocket.
Yeah.
Whereas with the consortium and a group like this, they're going to have loads of stakeholders, piling in money to fund new parts of the project, players, whatever it is. That is a certain thing you can hurt. I think it's also part of the reason why the front of shirt sponsor
Yeah.
has been a big problem, because of the public image that is surrounding the club.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can guarantee they were probably being too greedy at some point, going,
for
we
sure.
want 100, when they were never going to get 100. It's just astronomical. You'd need to be winning the Club World Cup, Champions League, Premier League, then you'd have something to back it up by. But I do think what's going on and what could happen is definitely a damage towards that side of things.
Yeah.
How much of a problem? Because of course it's one of those things, one stakeholder could leave and it could just be replaced with another. So yeah,
I mean, this
realistically,
is already
the
part
chain,
of the problem, isn't it? Is like,
Yeah.
even with like everyone's, there was that moment, wasn't there, where it was like Todd Bowley wants to buy out Clear Lake and Clear Lake wants to buy out Todd Bowley. So even if you can get rid of one of the owners, then the chances are that they will just be replaced, but part of the core thing will still remain there. So
yeah.
getting the whole thing out in its entirety, like you say, is just really,
Yeah.
really difficult.
And then if you look on the side also of, because the only other way is to have a buyer that's in the background that is
Yeah.
willing to slap it, maybe even double what they paid, even if that's a possibility for anyone, but to put double down, you got to think as well, would that buyer be interested in buying the club with the way that the image of the club is at the moment? So there's lots of
All comes
factors,
down
and there's
to the
not
bottom
many
line, man. I think it all
there's
comes
not
down to the
many
bottom line.
people in the world that can even afford to pay double.
That's true.
That there's probably only one that I'm thinking of, and that's probably the Qataris. But even then, they didn't want to go up to, I think, did they get swiped out, or did
No,
they pull out because of the I can't remember how it sort of ended back in
No,
when they were going against Bowley.
I think it was like there was the Qatar thing, there was the Ricketts, and there was Clear Lake, and all three of them were being considered. And then Chelsea. Oh, was it? It wasn't even Chelsea, was it? It was like a third party that had been designated to handle it chose Clear Lake, which was a bit unusual. Okay, so another comment from Abu. I get your point. My overall whole point is Roman would bankrupt himself to win a title for us. Unfortunately, that actually isn't true. The thing is, like I say, man, if you look towards, so there's two reasons for this. One is the way that finances are dealt with in the Premier League changed a long time ago, and you were because of Roman Abramovich, actually, because Roman Abramovich came into the club and pumped all of his own money into it without any recourse. Then they were like, hold on, this is really unfair. So they stopped it, and then they've changed it in the last 6, 7, maybe 8 years now to where you're only allowed to spend within the means of what your club earns. So Roman was unable to bankrupt himself in order to make the club win. And the truth is, man, Roman was never anywhere near bankrupting himself in order to win us a title. Do you know what I mean? He made a few big expenditures in the last few years for sure. Do you know what I mean? With like Romelu Lukaku for 100 mil and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But there was definitely a dip and in Roman's investment when the rules changed in the Premier League. Okay, so to the Chelsea boy, do you think the players have become unbothered and uninterested in recent weeks? I don't think unbothered and uninterested is the right thing. I do definitely... This will have affected them mentally, for sure. Do you know what I mean? Because the thing is, it's not even just Maresca getting sacked. The lead-up to Maresca getting sacked, with all of that stuff that was going on behind the scenes, that was 100% getting onto the pitch. It'll be one of the reasons why we stopped doing well. Do you know what I mean? Because of the discourse, the fallout between Enzo and Maresca. It wasn't just a case of Enzo Maresca was great and then all of a sudden everything just dropped off. Like all that stuff that was brewing behind the scenes will have been a big part of the reason that we haven't won a game in so long. Do you know what I mean? And obviously 2 games, isn't it? Cardiff and Everton in like the last 11 fixtures now. So I don't think the players are unbothered and uninterested, but I think it's hard to... If Enzo Maresca was going in, understandably, having difficulties with the club that he was working for, it would have been difficult for him to be his best self, and that will definitely affect the players.
Yeah. I definitely sense some frustration from a few players, Palmer in particular.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think Palmer liked playing for Maresca, man.
No, and I think there are a few that have, I would say, suffered the consequences under his certain tactical approaches. But again, that's one of the things when we see them go into this next game with, I mean, it's going to take a while to see some tactical adjustments because he's going to need more than a couple of training sessions to implement any kind of change in style. The only thing I think will stop will be the invert. You'll see that stop straight away. But we'll see, especially this month, if we see a bit more, I say happiness, a bit more freedom, a bit more fluidity, a bit more confidence, less frustration,
better culture.
A bit more culture in the players themselves, especially some of the ones that I've highlighted. But you hit the nail on the head. Even though you would like to think that stuff going behind closed doors at the top wouldn't affect the players, because all they've got to do is turn up for training and go out on the pitch, and you'd hope that wouldn't affect them. It does. Of course it does. Like any job. If there's problems at the top, it filters down. People come in moody.
We've seen it a million times with Chelsea managers as well, by the way. Antonio Conte, when he started falling out with the club, results started getting bad. Thomas Tuchel, when he started falling out with the club, results started getting bad. Do you know what I mean? There are myriad examples. Graham Potter, do you know what I mean? Graham Potter under huge amounts of pressure, the results went absolutely terrible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have literally seen this exact thing a million times. That's why I'm not surprised about it. Do you know what I mean? And when you go from being second to not winning 1 in 10, that's not because the players aren't good enough or the manager's not good enough. It's about how the feeling, the culture, what's going on. Do you know what I mean? Because being a successful team is as much about winning mentality and culture as it is about tactics and ability. At the end of the day, it's a cocktail that you need to get every single part right in order for it to work. And we did kind of just start stumbling onto it. But obviously Maresca, so what I'm hearing is that Maresca felt that he deserved more input and more power based on his results. Now, I can understand that conceptually, but at the end of the day, if that wasn't in his job description when he signed the contract, then it was never going to happen. So I'm not surprised. And I think it was a little bit petulant, to be honest, to expect, I've won the Club World Cup, so now I get to change my job description. Do you know what I mean? If he'd have won the Premier League in his first season, then all right. Do you know what I mean? Maybe those sorts of conversations can start being had. But when it was on the slow build like it was,
and we'll sort of try and wrap this part up and get back onto Liam. But at the end of the day, and this has been said, but it sort of gets... Maresca signed his contract knowing the expectations, what was wanted from him, and whether we agree on what he was expected and what his stipulations and restrictions were. I think a lot of us can agree with what we're hearing. Absolute no-no with what they're talking about and what they've been doing. Ridiculous. However, if I sat down in an interview for a job and they said, here's your contract, we want to bring you on, however, this and this and this and this is how we're going to do it. If you don't like it, don't sign. And if you do like it, do sign. And he signed, so he's known that. The fact that he's gone and won what he won and did what he did, as fans, 100%, we should be asking for it. 100%.
Absolutely.
Because we should still uphold our standards and things like that. But we've not had the interview and we've not sat there and been told the restrictions. We don't know. But he has. So to then change and go, actually, now that I've done and won all of this and I've got I've got credit in the bank, I've elevated my career, I want this. And you need to change everything that you told me were my rules. It's a bit naive to think that was a possibility. Now, he could have sat there in that interview going, yeah, of course, I'll do whatever you like. but when I start winning things, I'm going to change it, and you're going to change them out. Clearly, it's not happened. But yeah, it's naive from him to think that it was going to be a possibility when they've laid it out from the start of what it was going to be like. And hopefully, and I say hopefully, and we'll never know until it gets to the end of a tenure or it ends badly, that they've seen that they can't do it this way because they'll lose another manager, and they've lessened the restrictions on Rosenior, but we're not going to know that yet.
The thing is, they're not going to get anyone that knows their project or agrees to work with it more than Liam Rosenior at this point, are they?
Yeah.
Unless Gary O'Neill does really well at Strasbourg, and I do not even want to think about that right now. Right, we've got a nice comment from Omar here. 3 things. 1, like the stream, guys. Give us a little click. Nice one. Appreciate it, Omar. Do you believe Liam when he says he will make the decisions at the club, and with all the manager changes, this is an interesting one, with all the manager changes, does that reset the project to square one? So I'll answer the decisions at the club. Sort of yes and no, really. I expect him to not push as hard as Maresca did in terms of like, for instance, I think what some of the things that Maresca fell out with that Liam won't is Liam will play Josh Achiampong. Liam will play Yoro Hato. Liam will play Andre Santos. He will do that sort of rotation quite naturally. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think he needs to push back against. Those are decisions that he will make for himself, and that won't be a problem. Will he do things like Cole Palmer's only allowed to play for 60 minutes and I'm going to play him for 75 minutes? Maybe. Don't know. What do you think, Kai?
I'd be surprised if he allowed that kind of meddling.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I'm shocked that Maresca. I know he went against it on the most part, but there was a period where we looked at it going, "Why are you making that sub now? That doesn't make sense." And then you think, well, he's been told to do that. He's been told these players are allowed minutes. I'm shocked that a manager would accept that at any point, because you can have your say sport directors on your players that you want to bring in, fair enough, that's what your job is. You can have your say on the structure of the model, fair enough, that's your job as a sporting director, as owners, to set out that model. What you cannot do is tell a manager or a head coach how to coach his football team, how to use his players, because at the end of the day, that is what he's been brought in to do. That is his job, to coach the team. So I would hope that Liam has taken a note and seen what's happened under Maresca.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's been in this model before, so he's had these people at the top, and he's gone, look, if I'm going to work, we've already got a toxic fan base at the moment. They already hate you guys. I don't want this restriction on me. I don't want your meddling in the way that I pick and choose my team. That stops. And I'd hope he sat there and done that.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So moving on to the third question actually after that, and I'll just remind everyone again, like the stream if you haven't already. Nice one. Oh, big up Gabrielle, by the way. I've just seen you come in, man. Good to see you, bro. Okay, though this was an interesting one. With all the manager changes, does that reset the project to square one? No, that's an absolute no for me, if I'm completely honest, because square one, we've sold like 50 players and we've only got 2 deadweight players left. In those 3 or 4 windows, we have gotten rid of years and years and years of rot and build up. We have cleared out academy players, and we have cleared out players that were on big contracts, and we've cleared out players that weren't doing well for the club, and we've only left ourselves with a few. So the thing is, the difference now between when Graham Potter came in, for instance, is Graham Potter had a harder job, definitely, because Graham Potter was having to try and build the new team and integrate the old team to the point where he has so many players that people were changing in the changing rooms. It was nuts, absolutely nuts. So the difference between then and now is the team doesn't need overhauling, it needs fine-tuning. That's the difference. Do you know what I mean? So I think because the squad is already so far along, and I 100% agree with what Kai was saying earlier, like the strength in depth is absolutely not there yet. There are some players, the likes of the wingers in Gittins and Garnacho and João Pedro and Liam Delap, and that these guys don't feel like, maybe things can change, who knows, but these guys don't currently feel like first team quality, do they? You know, we've got first team quality in the likes of Marco Correa, Reece James, Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer, Esteban Willian to an extent as well. You know, we do have sort of half of the squad is about first team quality, half of the squad has currently got a question mark over it. That is so much of a better position than we were in when Graham Potter came in, even when Enzo Maresca came in initially, I think, truth be told. So for me, no, I don't think we're back to square one. I think that Liam Rosenior has an easier job than Maresca did at the start, and obviously much easier job than Graham Potter had. And I do not rate Graham Potter at all, and I'm still willing to put the addendum that Graham Potter had a really, really difficult job to do. Kyle, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's going to be a complete reset. Obviously, there are going to be things that will need to be reset, i.e. the tactical side of things. There will be a tactical switch. Now, one thing they've made clear, they want possession-based football, so all the managers that they've brought in or looked at have, bar Poch, I don't really think Poch was a possession-based manager, if I'm going to be totally honest.
Run,
it was more...
Run and get the ball to Cole Palmer.
High press, yeah.
It's like the whole thing, isn't it?
But it obviously makes sense with the length of contract that he got.
Yeah.
So in terms of that sense, all these managers are kind of the same, and the squad has been built with that in mind.
Yeah.
You know,
Rosenior has also said, by the way, just as a quick addendum before you carry on, he has actually been asked about this tactically and said, mine and Maresca styles are not dissimilar. There are a few things that I will do differently, but he said Enzo Maresca's done a fantastic job coaching this team, and it's not going to be a complete reset tactically because the bases of our ideas are quite similar.
Yeah, exactly. So it won't be a complete reset, but of course, with any new manager, even with new players coming in, there is a slight, it's a cooling off period to get things going the way that you would want them to go. You know, you can't expect someone to just come in and then kick on. It just doesn't work like that as much as it should.
Little comment from Gabriel here. Of course, we can only speculate, but all I'd say is the ownership are 5 or 6 managers deep and all allude to the same. So common denominator seems to be the ownership and sporting directors. Yeah, man. 100%. I think that's true. But if I'm honest, so one of my big things about this is I believe that and the truth is we wouldn't be here having this conversation if things had been different with Enzo Maresca. Enzo Maresca had the squad to have us comfortably in the top 4 right now, for sure, easily. Do you know what I mean? The games that we've been losing, Fulham, Leeds, do you know what I mean? Getting draws against Bournemouth and, twice, only taking 2 points away from Bournemouth. If we'd have won any of those games, we'd be in the top 4 comfortably right now. I think even winning one of those games would have us currently comfortably, well, not comfortably, but at least in the top 4. So yes, I think the truth is a lot of managers aren't happy with the model or whatever. But if anything, this is one of the reasons why there might be something here with Liam Rosenior, because he already works under this model, and if he actually already works under a more difficult version of this model, so if he is willing to come in under all of these things and purely just focus on the football and not try and play power games and not know kind of what his role is, and his role is to develop these young players and to win football matches, and if he doesn't think about anything else, I think we could still be on for what we were on for. If anything, like I say, the owners, we've talked a lot about the owners, do you know what I mean? I don't think we need to go into that anymore, but the sporting directors, I think there is a question there to be had at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? If the sporting directors will change before the ownership does, won't it? And I'm not sure how long we need to see this model for before the sporting directors start coming under fire. But ultimately, if we have changed out 5, 6, 7 managers we've had now under Blue Code, do you know what I mean? And ultimately, the sporting directors, since they've been hired, the team is pretty. Oh no, there was one change quite early on, wasn't there? I can't remember who it was. Right at the start, we got someone and then changed them out pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, is it for Favel?
Yeah. That was it. So there was already one.
RB model, didn't he?
Yeah, that was it. So I do find that interesting, but yeah, and again, we won't get into that a huge amount now because what we want to talk about is Liam Rosenior in the football. But I do agree that I think the sporting directors are probably they'll be the first casualty.
Yeah, I kind of thought that we might see a change with the introduction of Dave Fallows,
Yeah,
being that we've now got what, 5? Is it 5
six,
or 4?
6 now.
Oh, fucking even worse.
We had
6.
5, and Dave Fallow is the 6th Power Ranger.
Yeah, so I was expecting to see somebody go,
Yeah.
because but again, the top set the ideology, the top set the model that they're gonna implement. So
Yeah.
would any sporting director come in? They're going to be given the same task sheet, aren't they?
Yeah, I would have thought so.
That's
but then,
the only thing. So
I think Dave Fallows is an interesting
better
one.
eyes.
Dave Fallows.
Well, yeah, because he comes with
pedigree.
He comes with experience and pedigree
Yeah,
at a top club. So,
Yeah.
but I'm hoping he'll have more of an input. But again, we won't know yet.
So I've got one more quote from this is the only thing during the entire press conference that Liam Rosenior said that I questioned, right? that made me go, I'm not sure about that. It is regarding goalkeepers. Every team is different, because he was asked specifically, because obviously at Strasbourg, Mike Penders plays really high. Do you know what I mean? And obviously he plays as like almost an auxiliary centre-back, and his short passing is a big part of his game. He was asked about whether he's going to try and implement that at Chelsea, and he said, every team is different. I'm very fortunate. Jorgensen and Sanchez are world-class goalkeepers with their feet, but I'm not going to ask them to play from the halfway line straight away. It's a process, and it takes time. So everything that he said, I loved it in the press conference, but when he said that, I was like, ooh, playing to the gallery a little bit there, I think.
I guess it's one way to instill confidence to players, but he definitely smoked something before he went into that press conference before saying that crap.
Do you think we'll see Jorgensen tomorrow?
Yes, I do actually.
Yeah,
because
too.
it's Charlton and it's FA Cup. I do think we'll see it. I hope we don't see any goalkeepers playing on the halfway line. I know it's
not straight away, man. Not straight.
Yeah, not straight away.
To give him that, he did say that literally in his comment.
Yeah.
He was like, "It's a process. It takes time."
I mean, Sanchez is in a better position confidence wise, even with how bad we've been doing.
Yeah,
I still think he's been one of our better players.
Yeah.
So and he's been sort of unlucky with what's been in front of him, but I think you might just send him backwards if you start making him do that, because that is the whole thing that caused him so many problems. Was his short passing. I just don't think he's capable. And Jorgensen, I suppose his side is a little bit more tougher to question because I haven't really seen enough. But what I have seen of him, Deadwood. Just be real. I just don't see it. So yeah,
I don't know, man. I was pretty set on. I thought Jorgensen was going to go, but now I'm not sure because, like I say, as much as I'll be happy to see more of Yoro Hato, more of Andre Santos, more of Josh Achiampong, another thing we might see more of is Jorgensen. And
players always talk about it when a new manager comes in. It's a new clean slate. It's an opportunity for them to everyone. Try and get them back in, and then it will give him a bit more confidence when he's playing because he knows already under Maresca the manager didn't rate him, the manager didn't like him, so when he's stepping on that pitch the confidence is already shot. So now he's got an opportunity, and if he does play tomorrow, which I do think he will, he should play with a bit more confidence, but it's going to take a hell of a turnaround. But then again, Sanchez had a big turnaround, so it's not impossible.
I mean, I guess the interesting thing is we've seen this a few times before, haven't we? When you get a manager change in January at halfway of the season, it's almost like the rest of this season is going to be a battle for everyone to prove themselves that they're good enough for the team, isn't it? Because this will really enforce, like a lot of people will get opportunities now. And the thing is, maybe we see different versions of Tosin, Badiashile. Do you know what I mean? Because all of a sudden everyone's going to be... new manager, new chance, new opportunity. And you never know, man. Like, a really interesting example of this, I think, is with what Arne Slot did to Ryan Gravenberch. Because Ryan Gravenberch was not good under Klopp. He was just not good, and he looked like a poor purchase, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And then Arne Slot comes in and says, maybe you're being played in the wrong position. And then all of a sudden he turns into this world beater. Eddie Howe did the same thing with Joel Linton at Newcastle, actually. Joel Linton was terrible, absolutely terrible. And then now, all of a sudden, he's one of the most versatile players in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely mental. It will be fascinating to see who flourishes given that chance.
Got an interesting one, and I don't know how true this is.
Yeah, go on.
But we have a certain striker coming away from Strasbourg at the end of the season who reports are saying had a falling out with Liam just before he left and got suspended from the squad.
Well, no. So do you know what that was? I don't think that was to do with Liam Rosenior. Apparently, that was because he didn't originally know that Strasbourg was in France. And he said that in an interview. And the ultras went mental. Do you know what I mean? Now, that's a bit of a nuanced thing because Strasbourg used to be a part of Germany, which is why it's a German-sounding thing. Do you know what I mean? So you can understand that he's not French, he's Dutch for a start. Do you know what I mean? So coming from the Netherlands, you hear Strasbourg and you go, that's German, is it? Just because it sounds German. So he thought he was.
Same.
So and the mistake he made was saying that in an interview. Essentially, but Liam Rosenior came out, I think, and did the address and said that he's not been seen to have been keeping within the culture of the club. So essentially, French people are very, very proud. Do you know what I mean? Very, very, very proud people.
Because I've seen some things that he kicked a bottle at him or something. Like, again, how true it is, I don't know, but it's just I can't imagine because obviously he's still been playing pretty well under Rosenior. I know he's picked up a little bit of injuries of late, which he was injured, a little bit concerning.
He was injured for about 2 months, I think, earlier this season. Maybe a little bit less than that. But
so young, but
that's why Joaquin Panicelli came in and started banging him away. Do you know what I mean? But no, it is interesting. And the thing is, though, because the deal's been made, I think it will be very much what it should be. And this is like, I had this conversation with you when we were talking about Maresca and Renato Vega. Kiss and make up. Do you know what I mean? I don't care what your personal problems are. You've both got a job to do. Kiss and make up. For instance, I know it's not exactly the same, but when Fabregas came into Chelsea, him and Mourinho had beef. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They put that beef aside and won the league together. At the first time of asking. Do you know what I mean? That is what needs to happen. They need to put their professional goals before any personal stuff. And at the end of the day, even if they have fallen out, mate, Liam Rosenior is getting a tune out of Emmanuel Omega. Do you know what I mean? 14 goals last season. What, like 8, 9 already this season? Like, he's playing really, really, really well. I would be super happy to have either of the Strasbourg strikers playing for us at the moment. This is another thing, actually. I will quickly we'll have a look at a couple of these comments, and then I'll have a question for you. Right, so we'll go back a little bit. Gabrielle again. Too many cooks spoil the broth. Maybe we need to clearly named head as sporting director, as too many people seem involved with micro duties and all group think, it seems. Yeah, do you know what? I agree with that, man. I think one of the issues is, like, we've got two head sporting directors, haven't we? Maybe one's day-to-day and one's big picture, I don't know. But at the end of the day, like, 100% I agree. Yeah, it's too much, man. You know, definitely a hierarchy. There needs to be a head of the beast at the end of the day, especially when that many decisions are getting made. Chelsea Boy says, Palmer looking lost right now. Hopefully that changes. I don't have any reason to think this is true, but one of the things I really want to see happen is Rosenior give Palmer back some freedom, because I'm not saying, like, we'll ever see Pochettino's Palmer again, but we've been seeing, but you know how everyone's talking about, like, Maresca's been going against the ownership with making decisions and whatever. Palmer's been doing that with Maresca since he's come back from injury, man, in the way he's playing. Palmer has literally been trying to play his own game, very much like he did in that PSG game, because he's just he wasn't being utilised, and I think he's been really frustrated by Maresca. So I think a very smart thing that Rosenior could do is get Palmer happy, give him some freedom, give him responsibility, and trust him again, because that that's the thing that's not been happening, has it? It's like Palmer's been Palmer's been Jack Grealished essentially. Maresca has been doing to Palmer what Pep did to Jack Grealish, and he's been sucking all the magic out of him, and not letting him play his way. So I hope Rosenior can kind of give him a little bit of that back. And yes, thank you very much, Daniel. We are on 7 likes. Guys, we've got 9 of you in the stream and only 7 likes. So if at least 2 of you haven't liked the stream, please, all for 10 now, please give us a little clickaroo. Omar. Oh, no, sorry. This one. Besides Santos, what other players in the squad can benefit with Liam in charge? Now, this takes me to the question that I wanted to ask Kai. Do you think... So my thing I see with Liam Rosenior, he's pretty good with a striker. Didn't know anything about Emmanuel Omega. Didn't know anything about Panicelli. Everyone wants Panicelli now, and we've already bought Omega. Do you think that Liam Rosenior will have a positive effect not only on Liam Delap, but also potentially Mark Gue?
Delap, yes. I think you is on the way out, if I'm going to be honest. Now, I think he'll have a, I think he'll have a positive approach, and I think not just on the strikers, but on the young players.
Yeah,
because he seems to have done quite well. Not only done well, but has improved a lot of the young players, like you said. Players that we deem deadwood, have like gone out there and done pretty well, and quite young. But yeah, I think Mark Gue. The thing with Mark Gue and what is good with young players is they're moldable.
Yeah,
they haven't got to their peak. They haven't been around the game for many, many years and established their trade and their own particular style. So he has an opportunity, especially with someone like Mark Gue, who's 18, 19?
19 now.
Yeah, mold him into what he wants a striker to look like. He's got that opportunity. It's just whether he will be given that. Mark Gue for me is that third choice striker that you see in the cup games, that maybe you see at the end of a game to see out a game until he builds up and gets like 22, probably has a couple of loans here and there, and then you can build on it. But yes, he can mould him into something, but I don't think he'll get much opportunity with Mark Gue. Liam Delap, I can see. I've also seen a difference in Liam Delap's game over the last 2 games.
Callum McFarlane came in, definitely.
He still looks like he's getting into fights with everybody.
Yeah.
But in terms of his output,
they're playing to his strengths more.
I saw nothing, absolutely nothing from Liam up until these last 2 games.
Agreed.
Is that, again, because the weight has been lifted off the manager? I don't know. Which is interesting because Cole Palmer, are 2 of the players that know Maresca very, very well. I've worked with Maresca and Maresca got a lot out of those 2 players under when they were at Man City together. So I know it's a different
very
beast.
Different though, isn't it?
Different beast, but in terms of the relationship that he's not, where he's having to build a relationship with all the other players because he doesn't know them, he would have already had a relationship. So it was quite interesting to see.
The big difference there though is the pressure to win isn't the same. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing is Maresca will have been making the decisions that he will have been making vis-a-vis Cole Palmer and Liam Delap because differently to when he had them in the academy at City, because there's pressure to win now. And this is something really interesting as well. So do you not think it's like there's a coincidence to me? There's a coincidence that both João Pedro and Liam Delap both looked really good in the Club World Cup and in pre-season, because I don't think they'd been managed very much at that point tactically. They were just probably being played to their strengths because wins were needed to be gotten in and around that moment. And then all of a sudden, I mean, I know with Liam Delap there was a lot of injuries and stuff, but at the same time, even with him coming back, like all of a sudden, Maresca, this is what Leicester fans told us about, man. Do you know what I mean? Maresca stopped being adaptable and started being dogged in his own tactical dogma, and it doesn't suit João Pedro and Liam Delap. Liam Delap was getting pushed out wide to put crosses in as the biggest guy that we've got in the attack. Do you know what I mean? And instantly what you see with Callum McFarlane, our under-21s coach, he's like, you're big, go up front, stay there. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll definitely see a change. I think we'll see a boost from the players in terms of, they got to show what they need to show to even warrant the opportunity to play within the squad.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of players that have been on the fringe that have been poor, that need to prove something now. And it's their opportunity, like I said, you know, clean slate to do that.
Isn't Mudryk coming
Shout
back
out
as
to
well?
Callum, obviously. Huh?
Isn't Mudryk coming back as well?
I've been seeing that since like November. He's going to be back in January. I don't know. I don't even know if he even exists. Is he even a footballer? At one point, I thought he was competing for the Olympics.
Yeah, he was talking about him being a sprinter for Ukraine, weren't they?
Yeah.
Madness.
So I don't know, Madrid. I mean, you know what? As much as Mudryk, the quality, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
The guy gave everything.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I wouldn't mind having him on the left hand side now. If I'm going to be totally honest, I don't think he's the answer.
That's just like Stockholm syndrome at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, and it's one of those. I don't know, but I'll be very surprised. I mean, I thought he was banned forever, but you know, I think Maresca will need to take some of the blame in how he's profiled some of his players, how he's not used the strengths. I mean, we talk about, you know, his wing play. That's what he likes, the wing play, putting the balls in the box. But we don't particularly have strikers that are suited to that kind of way. And there was no change. There was no adaptability in that. And why we saw it in the Club World Cup. I mean, João Pedro was on the beach, turned up in a training session, and then was on the pitch. And was, you know, I think the first game he didn't score, second game, you know, he did. And he's not had enough time. And Maresca's probably gone, you know what, like you said, I ain't got time to coach anything into these guys. Just get them on the pitch and hopefully they can produce some magic. And they did.
Yeah.
And now he's had the season. We're seeing him not use players particularly in the right way.
Yeah.
And it's frustrated them, and their confidence has gone down. And because even at the beginning of the season, João Pedro was looking all right still. Yeah. He was looking decent. He was still scoring. He was creating goals. And then as the season's gone on, he's just disappeared. But then you can say that by quite a few of the players, to be fair.
Yeah. So, really, really happy to see this guy. Hello, Blues and Stripes, man. Blues and Stripes. So this guy is a content creator from America. I'm sorry, man. I don't actually know your name, but I watch your content. I've commented on your stuff a few times. Thanks very much for checking in. And we'd love to get you involved in one of these one time, actually. I'd love to get you on. For me, Maresca misprofiled a lot of players. Delap was one of those. These past two matches, he was allowed to play his style. Yeah, great comment, man. Great comment.
100%.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the things as well, like, so much of the conversation is around the sporting directors and the owners and stuff at the moment, but it's just like, up until that, it was like Maresca was the one losing all of these games, and to say that the only reason Maresca wasn't getting the results was because of the owners, I think is ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we should have beat Leeds, we should have beat, you know, Sunderland, we should have beat Bournemouth twice. Do you know what I mean? And things like Malagusto is not every other role that he gets played in. Do you know what I mean? Malagusto's a really good right back, and we've seen under Pochettino, we've even seen under Enzo Maresca that Malagusto is a great right back. It's like, use that. Do you know what I mean? Yes, okay, Reece James in midfield, like, I get it. Liam Delap's a really good one. João Pedro is a really difficult one, isn't it? Because we used to have the conversation, do you know what? I think when Palmer comes back, João Pedro will start looking better, because that's not happened either, has it? So it looks like João Pedro also misprofiled by Enzo Maresca. I think you look at the way he's using Garnacho as well. He's not actually playing to his strengths, as you know, maybe we'd see a little bit more out of Garnacho. And I know, I'm not saying Garnacho's been good enough. He's missed a lot of chances and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, no, I do think that it will be interesting. One of the first things that will be really interesting to see is how some of the players that we've been seeing play a lot, like vis-a-vis Gusto, for instance, how do their roles change? It's not even just about what players will come in from the cold, like Yoro Hato and Andre Santos and stuff. Like, what players will we see get new roles or different roles? Like, do we actually now see, like we were talking about Mark Gue a minute ago, do we actually now see João Pedro playing more in the 10 to supplement Cole Palmer, and Mark Gue given more opportunities? So yeah, that will definitely be the first interesting thing that we'll notice over the first 5 games, maybe after about 5
the one
games.
thing I would say, look, we can talk about the quality and the depth of the squad, and we know it's not good enough, but I would like, and I would hope Liam will use all the squad. Just use it to the fullest, at least to the end of the season. I'd like to say we'd do something in January. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think I think the owners have probably got really lucky with this whole manager thing. It's kind of smokescreened the whole
Yeah.
first part of the month because
Yeah.
nobody's interested in talking about players
Yeah.
coming in or bringing players because it's been this whole merry-go-round of regarding the manager and getting the owners out. So
Yeah.
they've kind
Stop.
of almost done half the month as well. So they're probably going like laughing about it now. So I don't see us doing much apart from getting rid of players in this window.
Yeah.
But from now
I've
to the end
got
of the season, use everything you've got.
I've got a couple of of players that I've seen rumours about that I want to talk to you about in a little bit. RC, welcome. RC says, I'm going to work 24 hours a day, Rosenior said today at the press conference. Know you're screwed when the manager comes out with nonsense like that. Yeah, I did clock that. The thing is, like, I get that. He's just saying he's going to work his hardest, isn't he? I didn't think that was more ridiculous than calling Philip Jorgensen world-class in any respect at all. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, no, 100%, man. You know, he's maybe gone in a little bit too hard
Yeah, a
in
little
some
bit too
respects. A little bit too hard in some respects. Right, so that's kind of safely seen us through Rosenier's press conference. So now, and we've talked about a few other things. So I've made a note here. First things for Rosenior to tackle, right? So the immediate things that need sorting out. What are the first few things that Rosenior needs to deal with? The first three that I've put, and we can you know throw some in yourself, guys. If you've got anything in the comments that what do you think the first thing or two or five things that Rosenior needs to deal with is? I've put discipline. I think is the obvious one. Goal scorers and create a culture, right? So just to elaborate a little bit on each of those, discipline, it's just silly now, isn't it? It's just ridiculous. I can't, I don't think I've ever seen a top flight team get so many red cards in a season, and so many of them have been silly as well. Do you know what I mean? Just absolutely ridiculous. It is basically systemic at this point where players are not focusing enough in situations where they should be.
And it's not even just that. The red card was given to Cucurella.
Yeah.
Then after that, I think it was 3 or 4 yellow cards were given out because they just wouldn't shut up.
Even Cole Palmer, I didn't even see him say anything, and it was just like, bam.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%. So, yeah, that's just got to stop, isn't it? The cards thing just absolutely needs to be dealt with. Goal scorers, I understand the idea of Enzo Maresca's thing was I want everyone to score loads of goals or whatever, but that wasn't happening. Do you know what I mean? That wasn't happening. So I think we need a goal scorer, man. Do you know what I mean? Whether it be Liam Delap, whether it be Cole Palmer, whether it be João Pedro, whether it be Esteval Willian, I think we need a focal point of our attack, or a couple of focal points of our attack to be able to rely on, rather than putting all of this pressure on everyone. I think Enzo Fernandez has done brilliantly. Up until the last few games, Pedro Neto's done really well, but he's definitely started to fall off a little bit. But like I say, man, I think part of being a striker as well is like it must be difficult to be a striker in a club where the idea is everyone gets to score a few goals, when your whole thing is you're like Liam Delap, for instance. He's a striker. His thing is I want to score the goals. Do you know what I mean? He wants to be the next Erling Haaland or whatever, doesn't he? So personally, I think that's the thing, and create a culture. We've kind of talked about it a little bit at the beginning already, isn't it? But they need to enjoy each other's company, man. Do you know what I mean? They need to play for each other. Well, something that I absolutely loved was seeing Reece James get Callum McFarlane at the end of the Man City game and walk him up to the fans.
I'm about to say something on that one.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, yeah, go for it, man. But that for me is, I thought that was great, and we need to see more stuff like that because we are such a fractured fan base at the moment. We need to be brought back together, and Liam Rosenior, that for me, that needs to be one of the first few things that he does.
Yeah. One thing I think he needs to do is, and yes, we have a captain. I'm not talking about changing the captain, but he needs to establish a leadership group.
Yeah.
A group of leadership players, and he needs to get them on side right now.
Yeah.
ASAP, because what that will do is it will breed onto the pitch and it will help him get other players on his side a lot quicker. We talk about the lack of leadership. There are players in this squad that potentially, Reece James, he's won a lot of things. He's, Champions League winner. You can see him growing as a leader. You've got Enzo Fernandez, but I'd like to see him build a leadership group.
Andrew
see that
Santos was
employed. Yeah,
captain at Strasbourg, wasn't
exactly. So, and build that, establish it, and use them to help build the bond.
he? Yeah.
And he's gonna need to. And I say try and build a relationship with the fans. It's
Yeah.
gonna be
Yeah.
incredibly tough for him to do that. But
Yeah.
he needs to try. He
Yeah.
needs to try, because if you get the fans on your side, even if it is just a bit on your side,
Yeah.
it will help push the team on. Because even in the first game, there's still gonna be a lot of negativity around it, but it's not towards him.
Yeah.
It's not towards him. But if he can just draw some of that and try and build something with the fans, because I don't think Maresca really tried. And I
No.
think a lot of people can say that, I didn't particularly feel connected to Maresca. There was,
The closest
when we won the
moment
Club
I
World Cup
was
and
was
stuff.
when he got sent off. That's the closest I've ever felt to
Yeah, yeah.
Maresca, was when he got sent off, because I was like, oh, look, he actually cares. That's the first time I ever saw him actually care. Like, it felt like he cared about the club. But other than that, no. I wasn't sad to see Maresca go, because, like, I was obviously devastated to see Frank Lampard go. I was sad to see Jose Mourinho go. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's just like, I think that's something we've been missing for a while, man, as well. When you look back at all of the managers that we've had, like, Thomas Tuchel had a reasonably good relationship with the fans.
I felt quite connected.
Yeah.
I mean, it always stands out, that one. I will get a bus and I'll drive the player. That for me is probably my favourite quote from him.
This is brilliant.
in that time.
But since then, Graham Potter, oh mate, I could talk for hours about how much I hate Graham Potter, man. Mauricio Pochettino, I never felt connected to Mauricio Pochettino, because he was essentially an interim manager, and it always kind of felt like that to me as well.
Yeah.
Then
I think the Spurs thing didn't really help either.
No,
I mean,
no,
same
no,
with
no.
Rafa when he come in. Like,
yeah.
there's already that.
Yeah.
It's just is what it is.
Essentially, I'm ready to feel connected to a fan again, as a fan to the manager, and ultimately that is what will connect the club and the fans back together again. Do you know what I mean? If the manager is the medium between the club and the fans, then that is what will start pulling us all together. At the end of the day, look at any team that's ever won a title. All of their fans, their manager, and their players, and their owners, like, everyone is all like pulling together. Everyone's all in sync and happy to be there, aren't they? Right. Okay. Let's get through some of people.
Last one. Just go. It's quick. I don't really need to talk too much about it.
Yeah.
He needs to establish a spine.
Yeah.
He needs to establish a spine through the team.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
And
we
once he's done that-
thought we were getting there, didn't we, with Fofana and Chalobah and whatever, but no, 100%. And I think up top, like, I've got a feeling Delap is going to be the go-to, but it'll be interesting to see whether that happens. So, some of you guys have put your suggestions in for first things for Liam Rosenior to deal with while he's here. Daniel, stop getting red cards. Yeah, mate, absolutely. 100%, man, 100%. We 100% all agree with that. Chelsea boy, holding a lead for once. That's a good one, actually. I like that, because it's true, isn't it? Like, that focus, mentality, belief in yourself, because that's something we saw so many times, wasn't it? Like,
we just take our foot off the gas.
Yeah.
We'd go up 1-0 and then just like soak up.
Yeah.
And you can't.
Comes down to game management, doesn't it? Let's be honest. Blues and Stripes. Maybe it's because both me and my dad were defenders, but I think there needs to be a massive emphasis on defence. He continues, seeing our defence concede chance after chance from the exact same mistake, defenders losing track of runners, and every defender does it too, is probably the most irritating for me. So that's a really specific one, but I think that's a great shout, man. I think part of that also feeds into what Kai just said about building a spine. We've had 9, 10 different centre-back pairings this season, man, and that is just mad. Do you know what I mean? That is absolutely mad. Trevor Chalobah is basically the guy, do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I think with how much our defence was needlessly shuffled around, do you know what I mean? I think that's been a big part of that. But yeah, 100%, like, we need to stop conceding silly goals, because that happens. Like, long throws. I'll chuck a quick one in there. Stop conceding long throws. Omar says, I'd add to approach every match with the same respect and intensity that they deserve, especially with the lower end clubs, and not think they are a given. 100%. One thing I was very critical of Maresca for, we underestimated Leeds. We underestimated Bournemouth. To an extent, even though we won the games, we underestimated Wolves, and we also underestimated Burnley as well. Do you know what I mean? There's so many times where he's prepared for a back five, and there wasn't a back five, and he was like, right, well, I'm not going to change my plan just because there's not a back five. Do you know what I mean? Adaptability and respect, man. 100% respect. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that's a great one. RC, not much Rosenior can do with this squad. He can't stop Bozo centre backs doing Bozo things. He can't make average players into top ones and make our average strikers into prolific goal scorers. I don't agree with that, actually, if I'm completely honest. I mentioned it earlier. Arne Slot, who was not a particularly prolific manager, came in and turned Ryan Gravenberch into one of the best midfielders in the Premier League after being terrible. Do you know what I mean? Eddie Howe turned one of the worst players in the Premier League, in Joel Linton, into an absolute machine. I'm not saying that he can do every single one of those things. You know, maybe, he can't turn all of our strikers into prolific goal scorers, and he can't turn all of our Bozo centre backs into not being Bozo centre backs anymore. But I don't agree with the basic concept that a player is just cooked. Do you know what I mean? A player is just done. Depending on the management style, the tactical instruction, the relationship that's built, things can change, and it's probably not going to be for all of the players we've got problems in with the squad. But I wouldn't be surprised by a player that I've written off turning it round, like a Liam Delap, for instance. Maybe Liam Delap ends the season with 10 goals in all competitions, which, to say that he literally had only scored one goal in the first half of the season would be reasonably impressive, for how bad he'd been and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's what do you think, Kai?
I sort of point back to something I said earlier with the fact that we've got loads of young players. Young players are easily moulded.
Yeah, that's true.
So they can be improved upon. We're not talking about 30-year-olds that have been in the game forever and have, they're on their, last days. They've learned all that they can learn. These are players that are still in the early parts of their career. So they can be moulded. They can be improved. Of course, natural ability comes down to a part of it.
Yeah.
Natural players will always have a little bit of leg up, but only if they can couple that with dedication and willing to graft to improve. Be a shout out, you've got Lionel Messi. Don't worry, I'm not comparing any of our players to these ones, but Lionel Messi, who I would say was just naturally gifted. But he's worked his craft. Then you've got Ronaldo, who I wouldn't say was naturally gifted, but he worked and worked and worked and then got himself on that level. So players can, and we've got a lot of young players that can, if they put the work in, can be moulded. But I don't even know how many players we got at the moment. Maybe close to 25, 28.
Yeah, I think it's something.
As long as he can get a 15 of them to a decent level, so he's got an 11 and enough for like 5 sub, you've got something to work with. But you would never get every single player improved. And some of these,
of course,
some of these players are probably going to be moved on in a year or two.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But I reckon there's going to be one surprise in there. I think we might see a turn in Santos. I'm not a surprise in Santos because we've seen what he can do, but I do think he'll be one of those players that we'll see.
We've seen it already.
Big difference.
Do you know what I mean? We've literally seen it already with Callum McFarlane. Andre Santos has played 90 minutes under Callum McFarlane over the 2 games, and he was brought in to change the game in one aspect, and he started well in the Fulham game as well. New guy to the stream. Welcome, Garvey Moxie. Mentality. I see players stop playing even when a foul isn't given. Players faking injury after a foul, even Caicedo, when the referee doesn't blow. They don't get up. Sorry, I need to change the timer for that, don't I? They don't get up until the play stops. Embarrassing behaviour. I 100% agree with that, and that comes down to culture, doesn't it? That is the same conversation to be had at the same time as like discipline and cards and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's like that is all in discipline for me. Do you know what I mean? Caicedo pretending that he's gotten injured because he knows that he's gotten a red card in that game. Absolutely ridiculous.
There's a caveat to it though, right? And this is something that's been spanning on for years and years. This was not an English football thing. This has been because of the integration of European players and South American players, because it's very, very big over there. That's what, they try and buy fouls and
Yeah, okay,
and
okay.
things like that. So we've seen that's something, unfortunately, that will never change now because it's been a slow integration. We're seeing more and more of these players. It's now become
It can definitely
what
be
foot.
worked on, though, can't it?
It
Because
can be
there's
worked out.
been a
Managers can
lot
try
of
and grind it.
high-profile South Americans in the Premier League.
Yeah,
Do you know what
yeah.
I mean?
I'm not saying that they're not like. I mean, South Americans are probably one of the most aggressive
Yeah,
footballers
yeah, for sure.
I've ever seen.
Yeah,
But they have that because again, if you can buy a foul in the box and get a pen,
yeah,
happy
yeah.
days. You know
I
what I mean?
think
But what
there's
Caicedo did,
the play acting, man. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, the play acting
is
is
yeah,
just
the play acting is too much.
it's
100%.
definitely something where Rosenior's got to like pull him up and go, look, mate. It's even one if you're going to continue to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to pull you out the squad.
Yeah,
Because
no, yeah, definitely.
it can backfire. That he could get booked for that.
It was like Esteval kicking Matey Boy, wasn't it? And then I think he was punished a bit too much. He missed like 4 or 5 games or something, didn't he? But there needed to be a reaction to that, but it was a bit overblown. Question from Omar: where do you think we will end up in the table at the end of the season now with Liam at the helm? My expectations haven't changed, if I'm completely honest. I think it's a difficult one because Enzo Maresca, I would argue, although a win under his belt from the Championship, actually had less experience than Liam Rosenior does when he joined Chelsea. Obviously, with Chelsea, it was a bit different. I see Rosenior, I think the squad is good enough, and Rosenior has more experience in a more difficult league than Maresca did when he came in. And at the first time of asking, Maresca got 4th place in the Premier League and won 2 trophies off the back of being a Championship manager. So based on that, not this season as well, but based on Maresca's first season at Chelsea, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect Champions League and at least a final. Do you know what I mean? Whether it be the FA Cup or whether it be the Carabao Cup, or maybe we can get into the quarters, the semis of the Champions League. We'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, for me, 4th or 5th place, depending on the coefficient. Obviously, if there's 5 places, I'll take 5th. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, Champions League and a decent shot at a trophy for me is still the expectation for me this season, even with Liam Rosenior in tow.
Yeah, same. My expectations haven't changed, nor should they, because we've talked about where we've dropped the points and where we've looked the most vulnerable, and it's not against teams that we're expected to lose against. It's teams that we're expecting to beat, and with players that are good enough to beat those teams. So, if he can continue the form against the top sides, but can improve the form against the quote unquote the smaller sides, which Premier League is not really any small
the sides
side.
we're expected to beat. That's the truth, isn't
those
it?
kind
Like,
of
Leeds. I mean, obviously, we're not going to play Bournemouth again now, but
No.
Crystal Palace, Brentford. Do you know what I mean?
If he can improve on those results, then we should be top 4. And look, let's be real, man. The people above us are dropping points all the time. We just happen to do it at the same time. If we can not and let everybody else do it, even Arsenal that have been they dropped last night against a Liverpool team that everybody's beaten.
Apparently that game was quite boring, man. I was watching the.
Oh, it was horrendous. I turned it off.
I watched the club doing it live, doing a live watch along. A little addendum from Blues and Stripes. A lot of us wrote off Cucurella and Sanchez and looking at them now, and 100%, man. That was, I think, in response to what we were saying before about. I can't remember who it was, but someone was like, Bozo centre backs will always be Bozo centre backs and stuff. And
I think it was, yeah.
And I 100% agree with that, man. It's like Moises Caicedo, Marc Cucurella, Sanchez, Enzo Fernandez to an extent as well, didn't have good first seasons, man. Do you know what I mean? They absolutely didn't. I think the only player we've bought that's come in and had an amazing first season is Cole Palmer, isn't it? Yeah. And Esteval, I guess, not as good as Cole Palmer, but he's not having a bad season. Pedro Neto didn't have an amazing first season. Do you know what I mean? And he, maybe not so much recently, but for the most part, he's been really good this season. So yeah, I definitely expect to see positive changes in the squad, and the reverse side of that is we will probably see some players drop off because they're not preferred. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. For instance, Pedro Neto might struggle to get game time now. It just could happen, couldn't it? It literally just could happen, even though he's been really good for us. Liam Rosenior might just be like, no, do you know what? He's not really for me. Or he gets played in a position that he doesn't like if he's moved to a wing back or whatever. And he's, look at Tyreek George when he plays striker compared to when he plays at the wing. Do you know what I mean? We could see the reverse side of that. Some players that have been quite good vis-a-vis Pedro Neto also might fall off. It's you know, going to be a really interesting second half of the season. But yeah, man, no, I 100% think top 4 or Champions League, let's call it Champions League.
Champions League, yeah.
Is not unreasonable in any stretch. Right. So let's have a little chat about January. I've got a few names. Two of them are from a wild article I saw today, and you know, I just like talking about these. So the article basically said Liam Rosenior is going to be backed in January with a few players, and I was like, okay, that I expect to see. You know, 1 or 2 players to come in to fill out the squad, maybe a Strasbourg player to help with the transition and move into a style of football or whatever. Do you know what I mean? The 2 players that I saw for January, Fermin Lopez and Rafa Leao from AC Milan. Madness.
How many times has Rafael Leao been on these sheets? I swear the last 3 or 4 windows I've seen his name.
Yeah, like, the thing is, he's like 26, 27 now as well, isn't he? So it's a strange one. He's not like I think. Hold on, I'll check that out. Actually,
I don't think he's 26. He might be 24. I don't think he's that old.
I think he's. I don't know.
I'll be very surprised because I feel like he's saying that. I feel like he's been young forever. To be honest, he's been around for so long.
No, he is 26. He is 26. He's turned 26.
Older than I thought he was.
So yeah, Rafa Leao. I think the thing is, Rafa Leao is he had his big season a couple of years ago and hasn't been that player since. Is he better than Garnacho and Jamie Gittins? Yeah, probably. But for the money we'd have to spend in order to get him, I don't see it as a significant enough upgrade. Fermin Lopez, interesting, I think, because we've already shown that we're interested in him. And I saw a couple of comments from Barcelona fans saying, sell him. We've got 3 more of him sat in La Masia right now waiting for opportunities. And that wouldn't surprise me at all, man. But the problem with Fermin Lopez is because Barca are in such massive financial trouble, they're going to want 80 million for him, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, if you gave me the option, I'd definitely take Fermin Lopez.
Yeah.
I would have taken him over Xavi.
Yeah.
In the summer. But yeah, you're right that they're going to ask a lot for him. And we know... I saw someone, I can't remember who it was, but they sort of... Obviously, we had the amortization thing where we were trying to do it over 7 years. And then that got fucking cut down.
Reduced to 5,
Exactly. And in that period, we were spending... bigger money, you know. I think the Caicedos and Enzos was during that time. The Mudriks, which was like 90 something, because it was amortized over the 7 years.
Yeah,
they were spending like 10 to 12 million over the years, and now because it's been dropped to 5, and then we look at the transfers that we've done, nothing's really been above 55 million, has it? Really?
No, not
because
really.
it works within that 5-year gap, and they're not spending more than 10 to 12 million a year on a player. So if he falls. Or any player falls within, I'm not saying this is how it should be, because I think it's wrong, because you can't, not in this day and age of football, you can't do that. But it's only going to keep going up with players coming through. I think if he falls within that bracket, there's a possibility, but I don't know. I don't think in January.
Nah, they wanted 80 mil for him, didn't they?
Yeah.
Initially. Think, which is kind of why the conversation stopped being had. But at the end of the day, with Barcelona, because their finances are what they are, if they want to buy or improve their squad, they will have to sell. And because he's an academy...
Well, they're going to have to get a striker, aren't they, soon? Because Lewandowski's on the way out.
And at the end of the day, Fermin Lopez is an academy player, so that's not just 55 mil or whatever. That's book profit. Do you know what I mean? That's bare cash monies, yo.
Yeah.
So the Gurhey thing was something I wanted to mention as well. So obviously City have signed Semenyo now. That's all official. He is a City player. Great signing. And honestly, like a lot of people are saying it's PR news or whatever. I believe that we asked about him. Do you know what I mean? And you know, he probably...
I think we'd be stupid not to.
Yeah.
if I'm be honest.
But
Yeah.
that shows me that there's some sort of like, yeah, okay, we'll go for the right play. Because you'd take a Semenyo level player in a heartbeat at the moment to play on our left wing, wouldn't you? Like, let's just be completely honest.
100%.
So I think going forward, maybe not necessarily in January, if the right player isn't available. And obviously in January, everyone's more expensive than they should be because of desperation tax and whatever. Do you know what I mean? But it shows me that we will, like, I believed this at the start of the season, and I believe this now. I do think we will go in for a couple of proper players. Do you know what I mean? In the summer, to I would hope so anyway. So, and Gurhey, obviously,
Gurhey's a steal.
So
30, is it 35 million?
So this is the thing, right? This is the thing. So I listened to Ben Jacobs earlier on TalkSport, and he did like a breakdown of like a load of transfer news and stuff, and he spent a little while talking about Mark Gurhey, and it is quite interesting. Mark Gurhey is actually thinking about staying at Crystal Palace. So City really want him because Gvardiol, Ruben Diaz, and John Stones are all injured at the moment.
Yeah.
So they have a need for him, but the problem is, when Gvardiol and Ruben Diaz are fit, does Gurhey get into the team? Gurhey is nailed on starter for England at the World Cup at the moment, let's be completely honest. So Liverpool have just signed someone, and they've already got Konate and Van Dijk at the moment, so maybe that means he's a squad player there. There is growing thought that he waits until the summer, plays for England, and then maybe goes to Arsenal. Because Arsenal, I swear, they just buy every centre-back in the world at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, as much as I would love to see Gurhey in a Chelsea shirt again, a couple of times I have seen he doesn't fancy it. What do you think?
Yeah.
I'd
take if Gurhey wanted the move.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me it's not a market opportunity.
Yeah.
For even if you wanted to wait till the summer, you get him for free. But if he doesn't, a centre back, a captain centre back, an England centre back, like he's not a bit part, he's a starter.
Yeah.
For 35 million.
Well, sorry, that was the other thing as well. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. The other thing in Ben Jacobs' report, he said that Crystal Palace said if they sell him now, they're taking in excess of 35 mil. They're going to take 45 mil because
I would be very surprised if they get that, considering he's on the last 6 months of his contract and could go for free.
Problem is they'll need to replace him. And also, if they have to replace him in January, they will have to pay more than they would have done if they paid. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a January tax, essentially.
I get it, but in terms of the power on the cards that they hold, because it's either get 35, and the clubs will be thinking this, I'll offer 30, take 30 or get nothing.
Yeah, but
because they're still going to have to replace him in the summer.
No, it's not that simple though, is it? Because they're having a really good season. And the difference is they can go even without the money from Mark Gurhey, Palace will be able to go and get a centre back in the summer. Do you know what I mean? So even if they do, they would sacrifice the 30 mil from Mark Gurhey to have a good rest of the season. Do you know what I mean? To get another European finish, maybe try and win a trophy. That's worth a lot more to Crystal Palace than 30 mil, 35 mil is. Do you know what I mean?
But if you're saying that they can buy without selling him anyways, why would it matter how much they got for him then?
Well, because it's harder to buy in January. Do you know what I mean? So that's the thing, is if they lost him for free in the summer, they've got a lot more time. The window's open for longer. There's more options on the market. They could pick up a free transfer, or do you know what I mean? There are many, many, many more options to replace Mark Gurhey in the summer, even if they lose him on a free, than they are right now. If they sell him right now, and they get 35 mil for him, they have to replace him with a player as close to his quality as possible. And if they sell him for 35 mil, they're not going to buy someone who's close to his level for 35 mil, are they? That's the thing. They're going to have to pay.
It'd be interesting.
50.
I mean, I've seen many a January transfer windows where it's not worked like that, and teams that have got a player that's on their last leg of the contract go for whatever they can get. So it'd be interesting. Obviously, they're in some kind of position, because I don't think Gurhey's particularly pushing for a move.
That's the other thing I was going to say.
So
if he was pushing for a move, I'd agree with you. I think they'd just take whatever they could get for him. But if he's, at the end of the day, Gurhey isn't thinking about anything but the World Cup at the moment. Do you know what I mean? He's like, I want to go to the World Cup, and if he
knows
on,
he'll get into most teams in the Premier League anyway.
But if he makes a big move now, and becomes a squad player and doesn't get consistent games for the rest of the season, that could hurt his chances. So I do think that's interesting. Another one from the Blues and Stripes. I don't know your name, by the way, but feel free to pop it in if you want. I understood the board saying we had enough in defence in the summer because Tosin was solid last season, but now. So, yeah, I think... I don't even know if we're going to go for a centre-back, man. We're going to go for a midfielder. So the name that I've seen is Valentin Barco in terms of midfield. He's a Strasbourg player. He's a young Argentinian.
He was a left back.
He is a left-sided. He's been playing centre mid for Strasbourg for the most of the season. He played left back at Brighton. He played like a hybrid left back centre midfield role, not too dissimilar from Marco Correa last season for Strasbourg. But this season he's just been playing as a midfielder, and he also plays as a winger. So I think he plays left wing as well. So that, because of all of those reasons, I think makes perfect sense. He's not going to cost much money. They bought him for 8 mil from Brighton. So his book value technically is currently less than 8 mil. We'd pay 10, 15 for him. Do you know what I mean? Maybe 20, an absolute push. But that fills a lot of holes. He can cover for Marco Correa. He can cover for Enzo Fernandez. He is used to Liam Rosenier's transitional attacking style of football.
Could be a similar situation to a Dewsbury Hall where he was brought in because he'd worked under Maresca, might be able to adapt and bring in the tactics a bit quicker, although he never was really used anyway.
No.
Could be. I mean, he looks all right, but I have to say a lot of players do look all right in the French leagues, so it's definitely be tough. But
I think that if we are going to go for a midfielder, Valentin Barco, for me, makes sense for all of the reasons. When you think about the manager that we're getting in, the model that we're under, we're not looking to spend huge amounts of money. We don't need a starter. We need a depth option. Do you know what I mean? Because we need someone to be able to fill in for Enzo Fernandez and maybe occasionally for Marco Correa. His versatility will be an asset. Do you know what I mean? And it will also offer tactical flexibility, for Liam Rosenior as well. So I see that as a believable one based on the profile of the player, essentially, and whether he'd be as good. Well, the thing is, he was pretty good at Brighton. Do you know what I mean? He was reasonably good at Brighton. I remember us being linked with him when he was at Brighton, but we ended up buying him for Strasbourg instead. So he's already got a bit of time doing it in the Premier League as well, to be fair, so it wouldn't be completely unfamiliar territory, albeit another player who started his journey at Brighton and ends up at Chelsea.
Sick of it, man.
Yeah, man. I did a short yesterday. I was just like, what even is the Brighton thing, man? It was just a massive conspiracy theory. Interesting one from Garvey Moxie here. A name that I see and hear a lot, but I'll be honest, I just do not know that much about. Yildiz, Keenan Yildiz, would be a really good fit for left wing. He has played in both a 3-4-3 and a 4-3-3. I'm not sure what formation Liam uses but fit both. I think Liam Rosenior uses both of those formations and the same one that he's used as well.
I saw a thing. He's used quite a lot of different formations in his time at Strasbourg. I think it's like 8 different formations. Yeah, I'm on your side. I haven't seen too much of Yildiz, but I've seen his name a lot.
Yeah, loads of times. Always linked with Chelsea, man. Always.
Yeah, so
I saw us linked with him at the same time we were linked with Xavi Simons, so I thought he was a centre attacker, but now I'm more understanding that he's a bit more of a left winger kind of guy. I think he'd be expensive again though, like quite expensive based on what I've seen, like 60, 70 mil maybe. But yeah, I need to do some research into this guy, man, because I've been seeing his name for ages now, and I've just it never seemed realistic enough, do you know what I mean, or close enough to, the rumours were never big enough, but, maybe. The problem with the left wing thing is what do you do with Garnacho and Jamie Gittins?
You've got to send one of them on loan.
Yeah, I'd have to be.
If you was to bring in a Yildiz, one of them's got to go on loan. They won't. I don't think either of them will be sold yet. I think they'll be given 2 seasons. But if you were to bring in like a Yildiz or any other left winger, because you remember Quenda's coming in the summer as well.
Yeah.
I think one of them would need to go on loan.
This is why I'm worried that Pedro Neto is going to be the one to go.
Sold. I think he will be sold in the summer.
Yeah, I do. I think Quenda coming in. Then you've got Quenda, Esteval on the right, João Pedro Cole Palmer in the middle,
Yeah.
And we're still, you know, what I have seen is Chelsea are targeting a marquee attacker for the summer. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know exactly who that is. Maybe it is a Keenan Yildiz. Maybe it's a striker. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I know Omega's coming in, but I want Whacking Panacelli. I just want Whacking Panacelli. He's so good, man. He's so good. Absolute baller. But yeah, no. The truth about January is it's probably going to be quiet, but there could be a surprise. Do you know what I mean? Because I remember the first January they went nuts, didn't they? That's when we got Enzo Fernandez, and like we bought loads of players in that January. And that's when we bought Mudryk as well, wasn't it? We got Mudryk, so we spent like 300 mil in that January. So it's not going to be that way this time. One thing that is going to be really interesting for the summer is the PSR rules are changing in the summer. From whatever they are now, it's like to a squad cost ratio. And basically, we're going to be afforded more freedom than we've currently got under the current rules. So we probably won't see anything in January now, but in the summer, when the rules change, I think we'll see one or two big signings again. I reckon. I've got a feel it in my bones.
Time will tell. I don't, because the thing with the way that football is at the moment and the money it costs for players, big money could also mean an 18-year-old, because look at the price. I mean, what did we get Esteval for?
60. The thing is, though,
quality player, but you know what I mean. It's
also
60 million for a 17, 18-year-old was unheard of back in the day, and football was just going higher and higher and higher. So
I think the thing is that I haven't seen anyone be hyped up as much as Esteban Willian for a long time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
We were just talking about Yildiz right there, right? So he's probably like 70. When it gets to the summer, and also the Chelsea tax, especially if people know that PSR is changing and knowing that teams can spend a bit more money, it then allows them to slap a bit more money on it, knowing that clubs can spend a bit more. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the young players that were probably worth 50, 60 million are now 70, 80, 90. And then the players like top players are 100 excess. 120, 130.
Yeah, that's true.
The thing what's changed it, right? Obviously, strikers wise, so top strikers, we saw Osman move for big money. Well, not even big money, really. It was
big-ish.
It would have been considered big money back in the day, big money. But Isaac, look how much he moved for.
Yeah.
If Erling Haaland ever moves from City,
that was largely,
he will then elevate it. Yeah, I know, because of the situation.
The situation, yeah.
With players like that moving, it just keeps building that marker higher and higher and higher, and if the top player's marker moves up, so does everything else in between, and it just gets more and more and more.
I remember when 30 mil was crazy amount of money for a player.
Was it Luke Shaw was the most expensive defender that went, and I think he was 30 mil, and now that's like chump change.
David Luiz, mate. When we sold David Luiz for 50 mil, I was like,
yeah,
I mean?
Unreal.
Like,
So
David Luiz for 50 mil, that's crazy, and we did that twice.
Yeah.
No, we only sold him once, didn't we? But then we bought him back for 20 from PSG, and then won the Premier League with him. Cool. Another one from Blues and Stripes. His name's Mason. Mason, nice one, man. Mason, mate. My email is in my bio, man. Hit me up, and we'll try and get you on one of these at some point, man. I think it'd be fun. Oh, let's get that back on. I've appreciated the comments. Any talk about youth players that might be coming up from the academy for Rosenior? So that's you're pretty good at this kind of stuff, Kai. You're the academy man.
So I'm expecting Reggie Walsh to still be around the squad. I wouldn't be surprised. You've got, I think it's, I can't remember his first name, Derry. He's doing really well. That's it. He's doing really well. He's just put it in there. Garvey Moses just put it in there. Yeah. So he's been talked about coming up. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in the squad. I don't think he'll start in the game against Charlton tomorrow, but they could be. I think you might see a bit more from Mweka if we continue down the run of the FA Cup.
I have seen noise about Mweka maybe being loaned to get some proper experience, actually.
If he can get a Championship loan, I don't think he'd get a Premiership side, but definitely a Championship loan would be good for him, even if it's an overseas loan.
What about
other than that, Raksaki, yeah. There's no new names that I've heard of apart from Derry. I don't think we've really seen him at all.
Was Derry?
Um,
Was it Crystal Palace?
it might. I think he had. I think he had a little bit, but it's not the like. I mean, Reggie Rolsh, I think, has had the most out of all of them. Bar Mweka, obviously, because he got quite a few in the Conference League last season, didn't he?
Yeah.
And so did Raksaki. But
The thing
it's
is,
tough then
with academy
with
players,
a young squad anyway.
Yeah, it's just
Like a lot of some of our players should probably have been in the youth setup anyway.
the problem I see with the academy right now is for every 5 academy players that we see, one of them might get into the team, and the rest of them they'll get games and then they'll get sold. Do you know what I mean? We must be looking at 25 mil plus for Tyreek George at the moment, which is mad considering he's literally played like 10 games for us. Do you know what I mean? Well, like 15 games or whatever, but do you know what I mean? We're going to make bucks for him. Reggie Walsh, it feels like there's investment in Reggie Walsh, but then there's Genesis Antwi and Raksaki and Max Derry. I don't know. He was bought at the end of the day, so maybe they.
I don't think we'll see. I mean, you would have put Tyreek George in his category, but he's sort of been fizzled out. But I don't think we'll see a Josh Achempong type academy player in the squad for a while.
Yeah, same.
That's been moved up to the first team. I don't see anyone on the cards of that happening.
I mean, it's interesting when you think about it, isn't it? Because Josh Achempong, Reece James, Levi Colwill. So there is still a reasonable academy presence in the team. I know Levi Cole was injured or whatever, but he was like one of our most consistent players last season. I'd be interested. I think that's something. I think that one of the big changes and differences we'll see with Rosenior, by the way, I keep saying his name wrong. It's Rosenior. He specified that today in his press conference. I don't think he is going to have issues trusting youth and giving youth chances, which Maresca did at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? You can see that with how many times he played Tyson Adarabioyo, how relentlessly he played Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, despite having other options. Do you know what I mean? I think Maresca, albeit he signed up to work with a young team, didn't trust teenagers or the youth at the end of the day. And look, man, Cole Palmer came in and smashed it because he was trusted, right? Not just because he was good, because he was trusted. Esteban Willian is smashing it, not just because he's good, but because he's trusted. And there will have been pressure for him to play Esteval as well, I think. Yeah. And would he have played Esteval without that pressure? I doubt it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think that's a big change we'll see from Rosenior. I think it is time to start wrapping things up, man. We've been on for a couple of hours now, but guys, we have
flown by.
Yeah, no, it really has, hasn't it? But this is it. This has been the first ever episode of the Friday Night Blues. We're going to try and do this every Friday, maybe the odd different day, but we'll make sure to communicate it first. Yeah, Mason, if you're still listening, man, hit me up in my email, and we'll get you on one of these, man. That'll be fun. We'll have to figure out time differences and whatnot. Yeah, mate. But nice one, guys. Thank you very much, everyone, for sticking around. So we'll do a bit of housekeeping. So obviously this is being broadcast on my channel, but if you have watched any of these before, you obviously recognise Kai. Kai has his own channel called Behind the Dugouts, and he releases Chelsea content on the regs, and some really, really good stuff recently. And it's one of the reasons I get him on, man, because I absolutely love talking to Kai about football. I really respect his opinion. He's a lot more level-headed than I am. I follow my heart a little bit too much. But guys, Kai is on the road to 500 subs. You're at 235 at the moment. I saw earlier today, so it's still ticking up. That's wicked, man. Get over to his channel and give him a little click. Tell him you like his content. Tell him you don't like his content. Just click some buttons for the guy, man. Click some buttons for the guy. So Kai, tomorrow, Charlton, Liam Rosenior, give us a closing statement.
I think we'll get the win.
Yeah.
I'm going. I'm feeling 3-0.
Yeah, sweet.
To be honest, I'm feeling 3-0. I'm feeling confident, and I think we're going to see a lot of players that we haven't seen get a good run out. I think we're going to see them in the squad. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. I'm definitely curious. I'm not in the. Of course, I'm going to back him. I'd back any manager that comes into the club. But I'm definitely curious to see what he can do and the evolution that he's going to take on the squad.
Yeah, me too, man.
It'll be interesting to see.
We need to freeze this moment right now, right? Because what there is, before tomorrow, what there is nothing but hope.
Yeah.
Anything could happen. Right
Got no
now,
sample size at all.
no sample size. Right now, we can reasonably believe that things might just be about to turn around and get a lot better. As
Just
soon
want
as
to
we,
win, man.
yeah, mate,
Just a
yeah, yeah,
win.
yeah. And I think the thing is, like, look, I love making content. I love being a Chelsea content creator. But what definitely for the last few weeks in particular, I feel like, and I've gotten wrapped up in it today as well. I can't help myself. I spent too much time talking about stuff that isn't the football. Do you know what I mean? And ultimately, that's what we're all here for, man. That's what we're all here for. I am backing Liam Rosenior. I back our squad to get us a Champions League finish and to have an attempt at a cup. Do you know what I mean? And I do think that we should be seeing more out of our squad than we have been for the majority of this season. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think it's unreasonable to think that Liam Rosenior can get a better tune out of the squad than Maresca has for the last 10 games at least. I'm not saying Rosenior is better than Maresca, but I'm saying I believe that Rosenior, feeling good and being fresh, will get more than 2 wins in the next 10, 11 games. I think that's fair. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
well.
Right, nice one, guys. We are going to wrap it up. Thank you very much, everyone, for sticking around. If you could shoot us a little like on the way out, if you haven't already, we would much appreciate it. Thank you very much for sticking around, and we will catch up with you very, very soon on our own channels, and if not, next time on the Friday Night Blues.